Am I the asshole for forcing my father's partner to take back a lie that she told my children? I'll preface this by saying I don't have the best relationship with my father, and his partner Blair is a big part of the reason why. While I don't hate her, she's extremely obnoxious and childish. She's also horrible with boundaries. It feels like any time someone tells her no, she hears, maybe. She's been like this for as long as I've known her, but it's become harder to deal with since I had children, so I try to keep some distance. Anyway, Blair and my father are planning on going to Orlando in July. About a month ago, she asked whether me, my husband, and our kids, 7 male and 3 female, wanted to join them. I thanked her for inviting us, but said no, because we're planning on going next January, and there's a pretty big chance I'll have to work in July. Also, and I didn't say this to her, we've been to Orlando with her before, and my husband has stated that he'd rather eat glass than do it again. A week later, Blair told me that they were getting their tickets and asked me whether I was sure that we wouldn't join them. I said I was. Days after that, my sister called me. Blair had told her that I was thinking about going while inviting her and her boyfriend. I once again told Blair we wouldn't go. Finally, Blair asked me if I'd be okay with her and my father taking my kids to Orlando. I said no, because we're not even in the same hemisphere as the US, and I wouldn't let my children travel to a different country without me or my husband. Last week, my sister babysat my kids while my husband and I went out. While we were gone, Blair visited to drop off a gift that she and my father had bought for my husband. She also took the opportunity to tell my children we were all going to Orlando in July. My daughter didn't care about it much at first. I think she didn't really register it. But my son got very excited right away. He kept talking about how much he wanted to go to Disney and asking about the trip, and after watching her big brother like that, my daughter jumped on the bandwagon with him. It was both heartbreaking and infuriating to watch them like that. I called Blair and said she had 2 options. Either she told my kids that she had lied and they weren't going to Orlando, or I did. I added that if she told them, she'd have the opportunity to apologize and explain herself, but if I did, I would not do that for her. Blair chose to call my children herself. I kept the phone on speaker to make sure she was apologizing, explaining everything, and making it clear we wouldn't go to Orlando in July. Both my children, especially my son, were upset, but my husband and I had a talk with them and managed to cheer them up. My father texted me yesterday. He said that he didn't appreciate the way that I dealt with this. Blair is still upset and thinks my kids are mad at her now. He wants me to apologize, or at least try to get my kids to forgive her, but I don't see why I should. She was the one who lied to my children, and I'm not responsible for Blair's feelings. We're still on this back and forth, and I can tell neither of us is particularly proud about this. Am I the asshole? In the comments, I would seriously consider a no-contact period until Blair learns that lying has consequences. OP says, I've considered going low contact with Blair for a while, not due to lies, this was the first time she lied to my kids, but because dealing with her genuinely feels like dealing with a child. Not the asshole. She is the living example of, I intentionally screwed up, and I'm upset and hurt because I don't want to take responsibility for my own action. I just want to blame everyone else. OP replies, as much as I generally have no issue with my father's relationship with Blair, a big problem I do have with it is that I feel like I'm the only person who says no to her. Whenever my father does say no, which already doesn't happen often, she ignores him. She's used to doing what she wants without anyone stopping her. Most of the time, I don't care. It doesn't really affect me that much. I do not tolerate this when it comes to matters related to my children, and I've made that very clear in the past. I think that's why I didn't expect her to lie to them. Not the asshole. Well, she did lie to your kids after repeatedly being told you were not going to. Feeling Fabulous says, Dad, 1. Did she ask me if I would go, and I answered no? Did she ask us if the kids could travel far away on their own to meet up with you guys, and I said no? Did she lie and tell the kids they were going with them to Disney in Orlando when she knew that it was a lie? Did she cause us and the kids undue stress because of that lie? Did she overstep and cross boundaries? The answer to all of these are yes. Therefore, we do not owe her anything, especially an apology. However, you, Dad, need to say that you're sorry for gaslighting us with your partner's actions and demanding an apology for negative, boundary-crossing behaviors. You both will be on timeout until you can act like adults and take responsibility for your actions. Have a nice day. I don't have too much to add to the conversation personally. The question being, am I the asshole for forcing my father's partner to take back the lie that she told my children? No. 1,000,000 times, no, she had it coming. My personal gripe in this situation are people like her and people that enable people like her. Because the point where she is at, the audacity that she has to be the piece of shit that she is the result of seemingly like a lifetime of enablement, I'm going to say. It's not even the last several years. It's not even this relationship that she has with OP's dad. This seems like a lifetime of what OP describes. Never really being told no, and then ignoring those no's when you hear them because la 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 la, I live in the world of delusion. But why this pisses me off so much is that they will cause heartbreak in innocent parties like OP's children, saying that, oh, of course you're going to come to Orlando. We're going to give you this and we're going to be that and we're going to be the fun grandparents and you're going to get all these goodies. We're going to make all these promises to your face. Knowingly and intentionally hurting those kids, and then when OP comes at her for it, she's not going to offer an apology. She's not going to walk those things back and say to those kids, actually, I knew that this would never happen. I'm sorry, kids. That's my fault. I intentionally hurt your feelings. I intentionally lied to you and promised you things that I knew were never going to happen, because she is an awful person. Blair is a seriously messed up person for doing that to those kids. That is insanely cruel. And I'm so glad that OP got her on the phone to explain the situation and not have her lie again. Hold her ass to the fire, hold her hand up to the hot surface and make her pay for the damage that she's caused. I'm so serious. What a sick and twisted individual to go around doing that. Like, you have no right to do that, Blair. I understand why OP wants to maintain that relationship with her dad, but in my heart of hearts, I want Blair gone, and I want someone better to replace her. She's so much more harm than she is good. And now, on to the update. I want to start off by saying my kids are both doing well. My daughter's birthday is coming up, which she's very excited about. My son is also doing better, but he's still a little upset. A few days after my post, I was tucking him in when he asked me why Blair had been mean to them. There was no way to answer that question that felt fair to my children. She lied to them because she wanted to. She did what she did to manipulate us. I don't know whether she expected me or my husband to put our careers and sanities on hold to join them in July, or to let her take our children to effing Florida without their parents. Either way, it's not happening. We weren't sure how to deal with this. Going low contact felt too much like a maybe, which I already know means yes in Blair's head. But cutting ties felt like too much. In the end, we decided on a timeout period. She won't have any type of contact with the kids until the holidays. We'll extend that period if necessary. I told both her and my father about this over the weekend. She cried, and my father and I fought again. There wasn't really anything remarkable about what was said at first. It just felt the same as the other fights that we've had in the past, so I didn't register much. Then he started comparing Blair to my children. One of the things he said was, when kids are excited about something, it's fine, but when Blair is, you have to rain on it? That is what really pissed me off. I told him Blair's not a child. If he wanted to treat her like one, that's on them, but he can't expect me to parent a 40-something-year-old woman who can't understand the word no when it's said to her. I did have another conversation with my father the next day, and it was more peaceful. He apologized for most of what he said, but a lot of it sounded like damage control. I told him that we needed some space. We're not cutting ties, but we'll probably have less contact for a while. In retrospect, I think I wrote that original post because I couldn't understand where Blair was coming from. Now I realize I don't have to. I've been tolerating Blair's behavior for years, but I can't allow my kids to be affected by it again. I think I explained my family mostly well in the comments last time, but feel free to ask me whatever you want to know. Thank you for your reassurance. In the comments, CyberMageTX says, "Good job at putting up boundaries and enforcing them. My mother-in-law had about 4 to 5 years of time out, and my oldest is only 7. Some people never learn." And OP says, "Wouldn't be surprised if we ended up not seeing Blair until after our trip next year. Once you've had a break from it, you won't want to go back. Finally cutting out toxic people takes a while to bed in, but the relief is palpable once they're gone. 100% this. I have a toxic sister, and it took me almost 30 years to cut her out of my life. My parents tried to act like I was the bad one, but I was firm, and my life is better for it. Not the asshole. Poor Blair having to learn the hard lesson of being told no and being forced to accept it. Poor Blair for being punished for lying. Poor Blair. Using Blair as an example of what is not mature behavior is, for your kids, could be some teaching moments in the future." OP says, "Maybe. When we went to Orlando with her and my father, my son was 2 years old. He was easier to deal with than she was. Sounds like she throws a lot of temper tantrums. Maybe your dad needs to put her down in the afternoons for a nap." Quote, "I couldn't understand where Blair was coming from. Now I realize I don't have to." That's a hard lesson to learn, but a really important one. We want to make sense of the difficult people in our lives in the hopes that if we could understand them, maybe we could get through to them and help them become better so that they wouldn't cause us so much difficulty. It's a very easy trap to fall into. But like you said, you shouldn't have to parent your father's 40-something partner. You don't really need to know why she does what she does. You just need to know that what she was doing was unacceptable and defend the boundaries for yourself and your family. And you're doing exactly that. It may have an impact on Blair's behavior, or it may not. You can't control who she chooses to be. Only she can. You can control your own choices. Whether you allow it to harm you and your family, or whether you do what you can to block it, you are choosing well. My husband left our 5-year-old and 9-month-old home alone and refuses to explain why. My husband's 43 and I'm 31. We've been married for 7 years and have a 5-year-old and a 9-month-old. My husband left our children alone, and he refuses to admit to it or tell me where he was. I'm furious, enraged, and my husband keeps telling me that I'm making a big deal about nothing. This just happened this weekend. I'm on the board of directors for a local non-for-profit organization. I had to attend an event for the organization this past Saturday, and I was gone for most of the day. My husband was supposed to be home with our kids. I texted him a few times, and he responded. When I called around midday, he didn't respond. But that's not very unusual. Shortly after that, I got a call from my mum. She said my son had just called her, and when she asked him what he and his sister were doing, he said they were both watching TV. When she asked where their dad was, he said his dad wasn't there. My mum asked him several other questions, and from my son's responses, she believed he was telling the truth and that my husband wasn't there and that there was no adult there at all. She said he didn't seem scared to be alone or worried about where his dad was at. He just called her to chat. He has a tablet designed for children with pre-programmed contacts that he can call. It's only a few people, just family members. I left the event immediately and began texting and calling my husband repeatedly. He didn't respond to my first several attempts. It took him about 10 minutes to respond. I was halfway home at that point. I was so confused, so worried, really mad, and I asked him where he was. He said he was at home. I told him our son had just told his grandmother that he was home alone with his baby sister watching TV about 15 minutes ago. My husband denied it, and I told him that I was too upset to talk and drive. When I got home, I checked on the kids right away, and they were both fine. I asked my husband again, where was he? He said he was home the entire time. He doesn't know what our son was talking about, but he must have been just confused since he had gone to the basement to do some laundry. I ran down to the basement, and it was the same load of laundry that I'd thrown in the dryer the night before. He didn't do any laundry when I was gone. I asked my husband why my son would be confused about whether his dad was home or not. Where in our home would he have gone, and for how long, for our son to think that his dad wasn't home? That doesn't make sense with a 5-year-old and a 9-month-old. You wouldn't leave them unattended for that long. Why was he nowhere to be found when my mum asked my son to go check certain areas of the house? I begged my husband to just admit it, to stop treating me like I'm an idiot, and to stop accusing our son of lying. Just tell me the truth, because being lied to right to my face is so incredibly maddening. He insists he was home, but he can't come up with any believable story of where he was at or what he was doing during that time. The way he answers me when I ask him about this and demand truthful answers is so dismissive. When I tell him, "You left our children alone," he quickly says, "No, I didn't." So, anyway, he says that I'm overreacting and letting our son's imagination drive me crazy. I am convinced he was gone. We don't have a Ring camera, but at least one of our neighbors does. I'm so upset about this that I'm tempted to ask our neighbor for the Ring footage. I had to go out to my car and scream and cry because I got so upset. Of course, I didn't want my kids to see my reaction. I can't put into words how upset I am about the fact that I know he must have really left them alone, but have no proof, and am being treated like I'm just a paranoid nutcase of a mother and woman by him. In the comments, Obvious Miscreant says, "When my now ex did this, it was drugs. I didn't know about it. He told me months later when I found out that he often left at night and put the kids in the living room together so that if the house burned down, at least they'd be together. My youngest was under a year old. The oldest was 5. Don't stop asking questions." And OP says, "This gives me chills." Commercial Lost says, "I haven't seen it anywhere, but I'll admit I haven't looked super deeply, so I'll add this to you. This is not the first time your husband has left your children alone. Your son's reaction to grandma is proof enough of that. He was calm, completely unbothered by the fact that he and the baby were alone. He wouldn't react like that the first time." And Eat Shitbish says, "As someone who was constantly left alone with her younger brother at such a young age, you are so right." Yeah, look, OP, I think you're right to be concerned. I think your gut is correct. Something is going on, and he is so defensive and dismissive, he can't put together a good story. Nothing good is happening while he is away. It is either drugs, it's either cheating, or something worse than those. But goddamn, that story by Obvious Miscreant. Oh yeah, I put the kids together so if the house burned down, at least they'd be together. Oh my god. Jail. Straight to jail, don't pass go. Send his ass to jail for even saying that. That is past the point of insanity. And now, onto the update, 4 days later. Last weekend, my husband left our 5-year-old and 9-month-old home alone while I was gone, and then refused to admit to it or provide a plausible explanation. Since then, we had many arguments about it. I've been living in a constant state of anger and frustration. I didn't want to fight about it anymore, but I couldn't help it, and I kept bringing it up again and again. I couldn't just lay low and pretend to get over it while I waited for him to do it again and catch him in whatever was going on. I also knew that demanding he tell me the truth wasn't going to get me anywhere, since he had been refusing to talk and deflecting for days. All it was doing was making me enraged and feel like I was about to have a brain aneurysm. I told him to hand me his phone so I could check his location at the time. He refused. He said he wouldn't do it and that it was a violation of his privacy. He won't be treated that way and refuses to give in to my delusions. You think I enjoy being in a situation where I have to beg my husband to show me his phone so I can see where he was at? I hate it. I don't want to live that way. I told him it's simple. If he was really at home the entire time, then just prove it. Why wouldn't he want to clear this whole thing up? I got so mad that he wouldn't turn over his phone that I told him that I was going to go to the neighbors to get their doorbell footage. At first, he was like, "Fine, go do it." He didn't think that I actually would. He knows I don't like to air drama to others, so he probably figured that I'd just swallow all of this crap that he's been giving me. Luckily, I was totally being driven by anger at this point, so nothing was going to stop me from going to the neighbors. When I actually started to go out the door, he tried to stop me and followed me out the door. I felt pure anger rushing through my veins and nothing else. The neighbor, who I've probably said less than 10 words to in the entire time we've lived here, told me that he would send me the footage. I went home, told my husband that the neighbor didn't have the footage from that day anymore, and told him that I just needed to go to the store and cool off. So I put the kids in the car and went and parked somewhere while I waited for the neighbor to send me the footage. I have the neighbor's number now too, and he told me that if I need any more footage, he will be happy to give it to me. The video shows a blue car that I don't recognize show up and park in our driveway. A blonde woman gets out of the car and goes towards my house. She walks on the outside of our garage towards the gate leading to our backyard. The gate is too far back and out of the way to be seen on the doorbell footage. She and her car were there for 23 minutes. Imagine that. The car leaves right around the time that my husband called me to say that he was home and had been home the entire time, as I was rushing home in a panic and calling him on repeat. One of the two possibilities as to where they went. She either came in through the side door of the house, which does provide direct access to the basement, or, and what I think is more likely, is that they were in the backmost area of our yard, which is a gated pool area. Immediately behind our house is a grass lawn, and then you step down a few steps and we have a patio, and then there's a fully gated area where the pool is. It's not like you think of when you picture a gated pool. It's a full 6-foot wooden fence all the way around, plus even taller landscaping for added privacy. You can't see into the area at all unless you're inside. I think it's more likely that they were back there because my son said that his dad's keys were gone and we keep that gate locked with a key. The pool is closed for winter, but there is one small building back there, sort of like a shed that we converted into a changing area, and there's a covered patio with furniture. I'm convinced that that's where they were. So technically he was home, but in an area totally removed from the house and where he couldn't see or hear the kids if something happened. I asked him how he could explain this, and what were they doing? I obviously don't need him to tell me what they were doing, but for some reason, I still had hope that he would finally be honest. He wasn't contrite. He showed no remorse. He was like, yeah, she was here, but I obviously never left. Who is she? How long has this been going on? And if he's going to be such a disgusting, despicable excuse of a man, then why couldn't he have at least found any other time and any other liar excuse other than when he was home alone with our kids? I told him I know this has happened before, and I demanded to know how many times he's done this when he's been home alone with the kids. He swears this is the only time, but he still doesn't have the balls to confess to what they were doing. And also, I don't believe him that this was the only time, FYI. I still have so many questions, and I still feel like my heart is beating 200 times a minute. My blood pressure is through the roof. I've cried a lot, sobbed, begged for somebody to help me, yelled, screamed, ordered a bunch of books about divorce and custody, and you know what? The next day after our multiple explosive fights, him putting his hands on me and me seeing the evidence, he acted like everything was totally normal and like none of that stuff ever happened. I woke up still seething, exhausted, broken, and he's acting like everything is totally normal. He said he was ordering breakfast to be delivered from our favorite breakfast place. He asked if I wanted to go to the store together later and try this new recipe for chili tonight. What? Why would I want to do any of these things with you now? Absolutely no acknowledgement of anything he's done or what's transpired between us in the past few days. He deserved an Oscar for how well he was able to act like none of that happened, completely comfortable and non-fazed. I know that it's a waste of my energy, but I just desperately want him to admit the full truth of what he did that day and any other day with this woman. I want to hear it from him. It won't change whatever he's done, but he could have at least had the respect and decency to be honest now that he's been caught. That's a ridiculous thought though, right? How foolish of me to expect this man to show decency and honesty now. If he was a decent and honest man, then he wouldn't have had a strange woman over to our house and been out of sight from our kids for 23 minutes. His continued denial and refusal to admit anything other than the bare minimum, his attitude like I'm somehow being controlling or infringing on his rights by asking for information, that's almost more hurtful than him cheating on me. In the comments, Shyby1234 says, OP, he's not been honest and won't be honest. Even if he is, what would that give you? Could you even believe it? OP, you know what he was doing. You don't need him to spell it out for you. Put yourself and your children first. And OP replies, at the end of the day, him admitting to what he's done wouldn't really change anything. It certainly won't change anything he's done, it won't make it better, and I probably still wouldn't believe that I was getting the full truth, yet I can't stop seething over the fact that he's refusing to give me any info. And Shyby replies, because he's hoping that if he doesn't admit to it, there's a chance that you stay with him. He cheated, he endangered your children, he is selfish. And Trippy Hippie says, I'm so sorry that you're going through this. Unfortunately, you won't get anything from him. If I were you, I would channel that anger into a plan to take your kids and leave. He will never say that he left his kids in a dangerous situation to cheat on you. You know it's what happened, he knows it's what happened, and it will continue, make no mistake. Cryptic Mutt says, that would be an instant divorce for me. The cheating and abandoning your children would be a deal breaker, and OP says that he put his hands on her? Nah. Instantly done. Yeah, as soon as she offhandedly said that he put his hands on her, I was like, whoa, get the hell out of there, lady. All the other lies are nuts enough to divorce, but that, especially, is chilling. Notice that the neighbor didn't have any questions or curiosity about why she wanted the footage? I bet the whole neighborhood has seen that car at her house, and they're all wondering if she knows, should they tell her, or what. OP be like, hi, I probably said less than 10 words to you in the entire time we've lived here, but, neighbor, say no more. What video format do you prefer? No, I see that. I completely see that. I 100% get that neighbor. I was that neighbor, and I couldn't even look her in the face. I had left an anonymous note telling her to check footage and on what dates and time range. They didn't have a Ring, but they did have some kind of cameras inside because I had advised them on what kind we had. Basically a baby monitoring system. To round this one out, I guess, there's so many things to touch on in this because, you know, it's like, where do we start? Oh my god. I think to me, the worst part is the fact that he just left the 9-month-old child alone at all. The 5-year-old, it's bad enough, but the 9-month-old? You know how fast a child can just die if you're not watching it? Like, so many things can happen. I would be cutting his balls off with a butter knife if I were OP in that situation. Like, my god, you're putting the child's life in danger knowingly, repeatedly. You would be lucky to survive my righteous fury. And yeah, that casual offhanded mention of, yeah, he put his hands on me as well while we're having these arguments. OP, what's going on? Why aren't you straight up divorcing this man and dragging him in court? Why are you putting yourself through this? It's not healthy, it's not good. Where is your support system? Where's your own personal support system, like you and your brain for yourself? I really do hope that you read these comments and just wake up a little bit and, you know, put yourself and your children first as soon as possible. Please God, divorce him, and please God, only give him like an hour of supervised visitation if you can. He does not deserve these kids. Good luck, OP, and thank you for the story. Our next post is by a throwaway account, and it's titled, Am I the asshole here for asking to divorce my husband after cheating on him? I, 30 female, have been married to my husband, 32 male, for 5 years. 1 year ago, I cheated on him in a drunken one-night stand. The next morning, I felt disgusted and confessed immediately. He was devastated, but I begged and pleaded for another chance, and he gave it to me. I was ecstatic, practically hugging his feet, thanking him. It's been 1 year since then, but I feel like we haven't made any progress. I took all the steps for reconciliation. I went to therapy, both couples and personal. I made it a point to put all of his needs and wants first. I gave him space when necessary, but also made it clear that I was always there for him. I truly gave it my all, but it didn't even make a dent. He won't touch me, won't talk to me. We have sex, but every time we do it, it's clear that he's just doing it out of physical need. I know I don't deserve more, but all I really want is just one sign to tell me that we are making progress. Just one sign that he still cares. That someday we can be like before, or at least close to it. Just one sign that the sun is still there. Last night, I was at my limit. I told him we needed to talk and laid it all out. I told him that I loved him and I knew that I was at fault, but that it was clear that he was never going to forgive me. That as such, we needed to stop causing pain to each other and that I wanted a divorce. At first he seemed surprised, and then he got angry. He yelled at me, saying how he knew that I would never stick to my word and how he should have never given me the second chance. I got teary-eyed at his words, but I didn't argue. I just said again what I told him before. At this point, he left the house, and I haven't seen him since. He won't return my texts or phone calls. None of our parents or friends know about my infidelity, so this is the only place where I can get another perspective. I know that I'm the asshole for doing what I did a year ago, and I will carry that shame and guilt for the rest of my life, but I don't think that I'm wrong for wanting to end both of our pains. Am I the asshole here for asking for divorce? Edit, I think you guys misunderstand. I am not blaming my husband or the lack of progress for the death of my marriage. I killed my marriage, and I will always carry that. I just don't think I'm in the wrong to end it now, no matter how much it hurts on both sides. Edit 2, he texted me saying he is coming home. I don't know what to expect. In the comments, Spooky Spencer says, 1 year is nothing. It probably took him 6 months to stop thinking about you having sex with someone else 24/7. How long did it take for you to stop thinking about him cheating on you? Oh wait. You're the asshole. You destroyed your marriage and expect your husband to snap out of it and get over it. It's only been a year. The one-night stand was a conscious decision, and you neglected to tell him about the issues and decided to fuck a stranger. He didn't even tell anyone, so he spared you embarrassment. Rebel Sweet says, you're the asshole. It seems, however, that your husband is still struggling to forgive, and it's truly painful when effort doesn't result in emotional healing. Recognizing that both of you are hurting and stuck in the situation is crucial, and it seems like you're aware of that. I think that OP just handled this situation incredibly terribly. Like, she's the one that begged him for another chance, and now she's the one who's like, well, all that effort was too much for me. Guess I'm gonna divorce now because hasn't changed yet, or probably won't change in the future. His reaction to this tells me that OP has blindsided him and not really tried to ask about more things they could be doing together to fix the relationship. And I think that you should have divorced a year ago. I don't think you should have fought to fix this relationship. I respect the effort of trying. I respect him immensely for not telling everyone about your infidelity. But I don't know. I wanted to say not the asshole for going through with the divorce and letting him be free finally, but you're still an asshole for everything you have done, OP, so I'm sticking with that one. And now, onto the update, 1 day later. Before I begin this update, I feel like there's a few things that I need to clarify. I made the original post to ask if I was the asshole for asking my husband for a divorce, since I thought that it was the best course of action for the both of us, not if I was the asshole for cheating. I am already aware that I am an asshole for doing that to him. I said that it was a drunken one-night stand, but I never blamed the alcohol. Yes, it was an external factor, but the blame is mine, because the decisions leading up to the infidelity were mine. Nothing forced me to cheat, and I know that. I didn't ask for divorce because our progress was too slow or not as fast as I would have liked. I was willing to work at a snail's pace. The problem was that the progress was non-existent, not even a hint to show that we might be on the right direction. I felt that it wasn't right for either of us to forever remain in that limbo state. Now for the update. My husband came back home yesterday. He was a lot calmer, and this time he started the conversation. Firstly, he apologized for lashing out. He said that he had thought about it and realized that he was only punishing me without allowing himself to start healing and forgiving. He asked if I really wanted a divorce. I said no, and that I loved him, but if he was never even at least considering to forgive me, then there was no point in causing more pain to each other. He was silent for a moment, and then he hugged me. That was all it took. I broke down crying and hugging him back. He promised that he would try to forgive me. I tried to take things a bit further, and he let me. I'm not gonna lie and say that now everything is well. It was clear that the sex was still purely physical for him, and after, he didn't treat me much more differently than usual, but now I feel like there's an achievable goal ahead, and that we're both actively trying to achieve it. I guess we're not getting divorced yet. Honestly, probably not many people wanted this update. I'm just highlighting my thoughts because, again, I can't really talk to anyone else about this. Thank you to those who gave genuine responses to me in my first post. Edit. Since I've read this a lot in the comments, I've told him from day one that he is free to tell anyone he wishes about us. I've told him that I would never try to minimize or make it seem like he is lying. I am not concerned with my reputation at all. I just don't think it's my place to take that choice from him. In the comments, Corf Castle says, "As you said, you fucked up royally. He was subconsciously punishing you and himself. You have a huge mountain to climb, but at least you've been encouraged to keep on that path. I'm hoping you don't feel tempted again, because I think that would shatter your husband." Quiet Walk says, "Yikes. I remember your post. You decided to have a one-night stand? Ugh. You need to rebuild everything. Trust, communication, and how will you work it out with your husband? Honestly, cheating sucks. Yeah, rebuilding trust after that is going to be a long, tough road." Roll Tide says, "He deserves better." I'm just confused on why he didn't jump into the chance of a clean divorce. They don't love each other, they don't respect each other, and there's no way he's going to suddenly trust her cheating ass after 1 year. Just walk away, my dude. Stop beating a dead horse. He basically gave her hope. For what? So they can go another year of this misery? I could never stay with someone who cheated on me because I would 100% subconsciously be punishing her every day that followed, so I totally get that. Husband seems too unsure of himself to pull the pin. Trying to stay married will just prolong the pain. He needs to see a therapist to help him make the decision he needs to make. You can forgive, but you can never forget infidelity, and you'll never trust like you did again. I'm all for giving people the chance at reconciliation. Cheating isn't some absolute atrocity like murder or rape. And, we give people in jail the, ability to go through rehabilitation and change their ways. Cheating is not the worst thing in the world. There are worse things that can exist. Me personally, I think the marriage is over based on what I have read so far, and his actions of being so incredibly cold, not wanting to talk about it, not wanting to kind of deal with it until she is the one that had brought it up. But if they both together believe that this is something they can fix together, more power to them, more power to him for being open to, reconciliation and rehabilitation. If he believes that it can be saved, I respect that. This is very much one of those endings, those updates where I'm like on the fence about it. I'm apprehensive. I myself would not be doing what OP and the partner were doing. I would just be leaving, but I am not them. So good luck, OP. I hope it works out. Our next post is by a deleted account, and it's titled, "My brother, 18, has been poisoning my girlfriend, 24, for the past 3 years." So she's always been allergic to lactose very severely, to the point where if she had any traces in her food, she would basically shit herself on the spot ever since she was a kid. My brother and I have always been on good terms, and always hung out together until 3 years ago when I met my girlfriend. He started getting more distant and mean towards me, talking about how she's ruining our broship and taking me away from our family and him. I told him he was crazy and didn't think too much of it until recently. Going back to 3 years ago, when I introduced Katie to my parents, he was livid. I moved out about 6 months later when I was tired of his constant bitching about her coming over to sleep over and hang out. Ever since then, we would have family dinners at my parents' every month on Sundays. My family is Italian, so we eat a lot of pasta and sauce, which is relevant. My parents always made 2 separate meals ever since they met her. One with no milk or lactose-free milk for Katie, and one for the rest of us. She never had issues unless there was an accidental cross-contamination, which happened every so often. The problem was that every month at those dinners, she was getting sick to the point of rushing to the bathroom and having excruciating diarrhea for an hour with severe cramps. Every single time. At one point, I started refusing to go, and my parents kept insisting, so I gave it another try. It was fine for a few months, and then it started again. This goes on and off for 2.5 years. I got really mad last week and got up in the middle of dinner and said to my parents, "Something is up and someone is messing with Katie's food." My parents go quiet and ask me why I would say that. My brother turns rather pale and stopped smiling. I knew it was him. I confronted him and he started crying, saying he felt like he had to get payback at her for stealing away his big brother, that it wasn't fair. He said he was adding milk to the batch for her and that he had no regrets. I was absolutely livid. Katie was as well. She excused herself and asked me to drive her back to our place. It's been 3 months and she cut contact with my parents. Katie refuses to talk to them anymore because they should have had my brother in check and given him worse punishment. He literally got a talk, a smack behind the head, and that was it, and said she can't believe that I didn't stop talking to them as well. My parents, on the other hand, are mad that we let this little incident break our relationships. My girlfriend says if I keep contacting them and insisting she forgives my brother, she is going to leave me. I love this girl to death. We've got plans to buy a house eventually and have kids, but on the other hand, I love my parents too. But I can't have both anymore. What should I do? In the comments, Sofa King Great 78 says, "Your brother is an evil, selfish, petty little fuck, and you should distance yourself from him until he grows the fuck up. You didn't ruin your broship with him, he did." Right? I would point out to the brother exactly how his actions ruined their broship. And hell, because of his actions, their relationship will never be the same. Even if he does choose to forgive him and continues having a relationship, the trust is obliterated. And I would make sure to point out to him that it's a big if in regards to continuing the relationship. And Sunflower 1940 says, quote, "My girlfriend says if I keep contacting them and insisting she forgives my brother, she is going to leave me." I don't blame her. Why would she want to forgive or speak to people who would sweep your brother's horrible behavior under the rug? Your parents had to know he was doing it. That's why they asked you why you thought that, instead of immediately denying it. She has a choice. Either she stays away from them entirely, or she bounces. Opie, are you sure that you're right in the head? Why do you feel like you have to choose between your family and them? It's very obvious that your family is on your brother's side and was completely cool with this. If there's even like a thought in your mind of siding with your parents and choosing them, like, go get help. You should be screaming at your parents for not getting on top of this before it started happening. Like, there's some failures in parenting going on here at the minimum. And if this was a brother of mine, I would actually be beating the shit out of him for doing this. At a minimum, he's getting beaten and bruised for that, and then blocked. Maximum, he's in hospital, but let's not go there. Choose your girlfriend every day of the week, apologize, beg, get on your knees, and plead for forgiveness. It is what needs to be done here. And now, onto the update the next day. So I've read over 200 comments from you guys, and it just validated my mind that my family is fucked up. I contacted my mum and confronted her about why she would defend my idiotic brother, and she basically said that he was young and stupid. I told her about a few of your comments, and that Katie could press charges, and she broke down crying, saying he won't do it again. Hell no he won't, because I told her that I decided to cut them off for good. Katie was actually relieved when I told her that I was on her side and cut them off. Basically, she told me that she was going to dump me for being an idiot who couldn't support his girlfriend of 3 years when she was basically being tortured for fun. I'm just glad that she didn't, and that we are getting through this together. Thank you guys for every comment, even the ones calling me out for being an idiot, trying to make Katie forgive my brother for the horrible things that he did. When you're faced with this kind of dilemma, and you've been close to your family for over 20 years, you do get kinda blindsided. So me and Katie cut them out starting today, and we plan to move to the USA next year. We always wanted to live there, and finally be far away from them. In the comments, Everything Is Taken says, "A happy ending was never in the works, but you managed to find the best possible outcome. Your brother really screwed you, your girl, and your family over. Your parents' position is ridiculous. I could understand maybe being forgiven if he had done it once at 15, but he's been doing it for effing years. He's seen the results of how sick she got. He did it most recently at 18? That's an adult. Screw him. I'm glad you were able to come to this conclusion before your relationship ended over it. I think you made the right call." And OP replies, "The comments really hit me hard. Sometimes seeing it from someone else's perspective really opens up your eyes." And OP appeared in the comments and gives a little update 5 years later. Grace Stranger Than You says, "Oof. Had to check the date when he said they wanted to move to the States next year, and that was bad timing." OP says, "Yeah, we never actually ended up moving to the USA, but did go no contact. It's been a roller coaster." And C-Lead asks, "Are you still no contact now? Did your brother or parents ever make an effort to apologize or otherwise make amends? Over the past 5 years, have you had any insights about what's wrong with your brother and or parents? Any ideas what your brother is doing now? And finally, did you ever figure out if your parents were in on it, as so many commenters speculated? Sorry to be nosy, but it's just rare here in Best of Reddit updates that we get to talk about it with the OP." And OP says, "We kept it no contact, but it messed up the family dynamic. We also got married in between. It has been hard, but no, we do not have any more info about my brother or family. My mum kept trying to reach out, but we blocked her and did not respond." Catmo says, "I will never understand the people who are willfully ignorant about food allergies and sensitivities. The parents thinking that OP's brother was just young and stupid doesn't matter here. At the end of the day, he was literally poisoning her on purpose. He was inflicting pain and suffering on a woman to punish her merely because she existed. It doesn't matter that his weapon was milk. To her body, it was just as bad as if it had been a literal poison with a skull and crossbones on the body. If OP's brother was willing to do this under these circumstances, there is no telling what he would be capable of doing anytime he feels slighted in the future. Them not taking this seriously is a massive cause for concern. I wonder where they're all at now, and if the brother is in jail yet for attempted murder. Because that's the track he was definitely on, thanks to his parents' idiotic enabling." Space Age Stuff replies, "I mean, for legal purposes, this is considered poisoning her food. The boyfriend debating whether to press charges actually had some teeth to the threat. It's illegal to willingly give someone something that makes them medically ill. He's lucky she didn't end up in hospital or dead, because then there would be a real problem." Am I the asshole here for being brutally honest to my wife about cheating? So this happened over the past weekend. We were at a party with friends and this question popped up. We essentially had a small never had I ever game, which is pretty childish looking back, but we're all in our late 20s, so it isn't that bad. One of the questions was, never have I ever forgiven a partner for cheating. A few people counted that as something they did, including my wife. I expressed my surprise about it, since I wouldn't expect her of all people to give someone a chance after cheating. Other than that, the night went on just fine, and I was driving us home. I don't drink, I hate alcohol. I asked her about the whole situation with forgiving a partner for cheating, and in her words, her ex-boyfriend of so many years back cheated on her. He came clean about it, and they tried again, but then he went and did it again in the same manner. She said she didn't regret giving him a second chance, and would do the same if I happened to cheat. I figured this is just her being drunk. I have no intention of cheating on her. In absence of any answer from me, she asks if I would do the same for her. I bluntly told her that I wouldn't be able to forgive cheating, nor would I ever expect to be forgiven for cheating if I somehow ended up doing it. Short of physical abuse or other heinous acts, it's the worst thing you can do to someone you love. I don't know what happened to her after that, but she stopped talking the rest of the car ride. Ever since then, she's been dead silent around me. She isn't her usual bubbly self and is withdrawn whenever I have conversations with her. She avoids any questions about what happened on Saturday night, too. I asked our mutual friends about any context I may have missed, and a few of them said that she must have taken it a bit too hard. As in, me not being able to forgive her for hypothetical cheating means that I don't love her as much as she loves me. Her two oldest friends implied that I shouldn't have been so blunt about it. In the comments, Cool Relative says, "Not the asshole. She's conflating your personal boundaries with your love for her. But personal boundaries and deal breakers are about self-love, not love of another. Not everyone has the same boundaries, and that's always more about the person themselves than other people." Not the asshole. This is stupid on her part. Did she cheat and is sad that you wouldn't be willing to forgive her? Does she have the urge to or plan on doing it and hopes you would give her another chance? Either way, it doesn't look good. Just because she can forgive a cheater doesn't mean you can or should. Exactly. The fact that she's this upset over a hypothetical makes it real suspicious. Like, why is she so pressed about forgiveness unless she's thinking about needing it? Look, Reddit can be a bit that way sometimes, guys. How about we reframe it and be like, maybe she regrets forgiving her ex for doing it the first time. Maybe she feels like OP is judging her for that. Perhaps that is where this is coming from. I don't think we should just jump on the, hype train of saying, well, she obviously wants to cheat. She obviously has cheated. This hypothetical is real It's not always like that, though. People have other genuine reasons as to why they might act like she is acting in this instance. And I think it's unfair to paint everyone with the same brush as saying, like, they are cheating, they are going to cheat, and they want to. Because not everyone is like that. I say, give her the benefit of the doubt. You're not the asshole for being brutally honest to your wife about cheating, OP. She married you for a reason. She will be honest with you, hopefully. Have that chat and see where she's coming from before casting, too much judgment. Don't jump the gun. And now, onto the update, 1 day later. I'd have to say about 90% of the comments immediately went to her being a cheat or planning on cheating with some handsome doctor. That isn't what is happening here. I pressed the issue when I got home last night, and she finally cracked. She said she felt like I thought less of her for choosing to give her ex one more chance, and felt hurt to hear me speak about ending our marriage so frankly. Obviously, I didn't mean to hurt her with what I thought would be a meaningless hypothetical. I explained that I valued our relationship too much to cheat on her, which is what I meant by my answer. We had a much longer chat about why she felt so down, and I think we got to the crux of the matter. She confessed to still having fears of me having an affair like he did and losing the relationship. In short, she feels like she hasn't actually processed the cheating from her old relationship. Her ex was her first relationship, so having him cheat on her clearly messed up her self-confidence. She was anxious during the first year or so during our relationship because of some female friends I had and who were still in my life. Her ex cheated with one of his quote-unquote friends both times. She came clean about checking my phone for any secret chats or apps during our entire relationship. We both know each other's passwords and use the other person's phones freely. So when I said that I wouldn't tolerate having an affair, whether it be on my side or hers, she just felt guilty about being so worried all the time. I think she would benefit from some form of counseling to help get over this, which she agrees with, so now we're planning on getting individual therapy for her and possibly something for the both of us. At the same time, I'm reassuring her that this isn't a marriage-ending issue and that I'm not angry at her. Needless to say, things are still off at home, but much better now that this is all out in the open. In the comments, 2000 Anna says, "Sounds like you had a really productive and healthy conversation about it and came to the right conclusions. I hope that she'll actually give counseling a try. You will both feel a lot better once she can work through and let go of her fears and insecurities. Wish you all the best." So, this is Reddit. If you're going to continue to have a mature, respectful relationship with honest communication and empathy for your partner, we're going to have to ask you to leave. Mega Mose says, "I feel like most couples have had this conversation. My wife and I certainly have. No second chances. I just know myself too well. I would hold a grudge forever and wouldn't ever truly be able to get over it. So reconciliation would be impossible for me. Likewise, I wouldn't expect to be reconciled with if I did that to her. I just think that it fractures a relationship too much to move past it. I'd imagine that most couples would, when discussing this theoretically, lean toward it being a relationship ender." Thank you for giving us a reasonable story for once, OP. This is great. Glad to hear that having a chat with her just sorted everything out. Who would have thought? But yeah, for me too, cheating on either side of the relationship, I feel like after reading so many things, you gotta end it. As with that story that I covered the other day, it's fine if you do want to work on and fix the relationship, more power to you, but I just don't see the point. Just get a fresh start with someone that you can have that trust with. But again, to each their own. Glad this was just a hypothetical. Hope it doesn't make its way into real life in the future for you, OP. Our next post is by user PrestigiousBag5832, and it's titled, "Am I the asshole here for convincing my boyfriend not to share his inheritance? I've been with my boyfriend Jack for a little over 2 years now. He's the sweetest, most considerate guy that I've ever met, and we are really happy. Jack's the middle child in a family of 3 kids. Their mum passed away when he was young. Their dad was focused on his career and had little time for them, so they grew up with various nannies and maids. Dad didn't really put an effort into building a relationship with any of his kids as children or adults. Jack's brother and sister pretty much had zero contact with the dad, but Jack, being the sweet guy he is, always made an effort to keep up. I've met his dad twice, and let's just say he's a difficult man to get along with. But Jack put up with him anyway, sometimes missing out on things he needed to do just because his dad wanted something. Now, his dad has passed away recently and left everything to Jack. I think he left some things to the other kids, but like 99% of it goes to Jack. And turns out, his father was a lot richer than everyone believed. I'm talking Jack not having to work for the rest of his life and have enough to send 3 kids to college rich. His brother and sister found out and wanted everything divided equally. Jack, being the sweet, considerate guy he is, actually agreed. We talked about it later, and I was like, "Are you out of your mind? Your dad left this to you, not your siblings." He knew what he was doing. It's not like his brother and sister are poor or desperate for money anyway. The inheritance was his. I admit Jack can be a bit of a pushover, and his siblings know this, so I convinced him to not just divide everything up equally, but maybe consider giving them something more than what their dad has left. When Jack went back to them with the information and said he's discussed this with me, of course they're blaming it on me now. They're calling me a gold digger and that I'm after their money. We're not even engaged. I won't get anything out of this. It is all Jack's. So am I the asshole here for convincing Jack not to split his entire inheritance with his siblings? In the comments, they'll probably contest the will now. Unless they can show a legal reason why the will should be thrown out, other than I didn't get a share, they are going to lose. They'll probably lose more money than they've gained in lawyers' fees. Also, I suspect the dad kept some sort of record as to his reasoning why he split his estate the way he did. Not the asshole, but Jack's also stupid, not just a pushover. No offense. Sounds like Jack, as the middle child, is a people pleaser. My husband is also a middle child and is just the same. Avoids confrontation, takes the easy route. It takes some convincing to make him stand up for himself too. And OP says, yes, you get it. He just has a little trouble saying no, especially in a personal context. He would agree to something that's not in his best interest, and when I ask him why, he would just say that it's not worth the hassle to disagree. Blonde John says, Jake sounds like more than a pushover to me. He sounds like a loving human who genuinely cares about family. I think he'll regret a family divide because you persuaded him in a different way, though I do not disagree with you. A good solution could be a small trust fund set up for each of his nieces and nephews for college or a home. He could help family, but not the family that ignored his father, while also not scratching his inheritance. You would not end up being resented by not only the siblings, but eventually this sweet guy, because know if he does anything, and it is on your say-so, according to you, he will regret it, because he is a wonderful man. Of course, watch for him being taken advantage of, but please don't stop him from being a wonderful human being. We need them. No judgment yet. OP says, this is true. He is the sweetest man, but I've seen people take advantage of him over and over again and didn't want it to happen this time. Yeah, I'm gonna go with not the asshole for this one either, OP. I don't want him taken advantage of either, and I think that trust fund is probably the best way to go. They're still gonna fight you on it. You know, people like this will always say, no, I need the money, it's more important. And the trust fund is a great middle ground, but they're going to be like, no, that's not what I meant actually. The family needs the money, i.e., I need the money. Cash in hand, right now. I think it's unfortunate that he roped you into this mess, where a little more forethought by him could have not indicted you. He didn't have to say, I've been speaking with you specifically, and now my mind has changed. I think some of the comments are correct in saying that he's not the brightest bulb of the bunch, but, you know, what is done is done. I think you have a lot of good advice as to where you can go from here. And now, onto the update 2 days later. First of all, thank you to everyone who took the time to reply. I feel like the opinion was split halfway on whether I was the asshole or not, so I thought I'd post an update with more clarifications. Some of you pointed out that while saying I wanted to stop Jack from being a pushover, I did the exact thing to him myself, and to them, I can see where you're coming from. This was never my intention. Jack asked for my opinion, and I gave it to him. I agree I could have approached it better. Also, the one thing where I may have been a bit of an asshole was not asking Jack why he wanted to split the inheritance. I just assumed that people were trying to take advantage of him as usual and went from there. We had another discussion, and I made sure to ask him this. His reasoning was that he felt that his father was unfair and he wanted to do what he felt was right. He said he had no delusions that this would magically fix things between him and his siblings, and they would all become one big happy family. That being said, Jack had a discussion with his lawyer and his father's lawyer, who was also his father's friend. There is very little to no chance for the siblings to contest the will. The father knew what he was doing, and as his lawyer explained, he had his reasons. Turns out, the father did realize he was a bad parent and tried to rectify things by reaching out to his kids when they were all adults. The other two never bothered to respond, despite multiple attempts. Jack, being the sweet guy that he is, never thought twice about it and reconciled the first time. He says he understands that their dad didn't do the best job, but it was all in the past and he was willing to get over it. He pointed out that his father did pay for all of their education and is part of the reason why they have such comfortable lives now. Now the part about the inheritance. Jack still wants to split it with his siblings, but not completely evenly. His father's lawyer made it clear that it was the man's last wish that the majority should go to Jack, so Jack is going to honor that, just not be so extreme about it. Jack will be keeping around 40% of everything and splitting the other 40% evenly between the siblings. Turns out they don't know exact numbers, so 20% would still be big enough to have them satisfied. His father's lawyer says that he's going to make it very clear to the siblings that this was all Jack's money, that he's giving it to them out of the goodness of his heart, and they are in no way entitled to it. My only comment to Jack at this point was just to make sure that this was entirely his decision, and he didn't feel pressured or persuaded in any way to do it, and that he's not doing it seeking validation from his siblings. He said he's sure, and I told him that I support his decision completely. To be honest, I'm very proud of him to coming to a solution that allowed him to stay true to himself while not being a pushover. In the comments, Mocha Lattes says, "Good ending. I'm glad he decided what he wanted to do and that you support him. You made sure to ask him why and you really listened to him. I wish you both the best. Jack's a better guy than I am." No, he isn't. A good guy would do what his father wanted. Well, that's just a good son. A good man is above and beyond being a good son alone. That said, I'm definitely taking all the money. Probably hide it from siblings as well, and not let him have a whiff. I'm caught up on how the sibling with a reputation of being a pushover was the only one to reconcile with his dad. Honestly, feels like a coin flip as to if he split the inheritance out of genuine thanks for Jack, or if it was meant more as a one last act of spite against the other two. Hard to know without knowing what being a bad dad entails. But it probably isn't good if all three had cut him off at some point, and only the pushover was the one to reconcile when he had attempted to do so. Abuse is abuse, but it's not all equal. The initial no contact and Jack's reconciliation has me wondering what their dad had done. Was Jack forgiving someone that regularly beat or even assaulted them? Or was the dad more of a general neglect, career first kind of guy, who thought that being a breadwinner was the only thing that mattered in having a family? All in all, I'm glad that Jack at least split some of it, but I really am curious as to how much the inheritance split was a thank you to Jack, and how much was meant as a final, okay, fine, fuck you then, to the other two. I'm sure it was a mix of the two, but I'm unsure of the mix ratio. He died as he lived, being a bad person, leaving, that obvious disaster between the siblings to sort out. But would the idea of the kids having relationships with each other even occur to him when it seems like he only really cared about him having a relationship with them? I'm not sure. To me, it just kind of seems like the dad wanted to sabotage their relationships with each other. It honestly feels like it happens more often than not, and these are the stories that get brought to us. He didn't get what he wanted, and he cut them out of the will because of that, and then this is the result. I'm glad that OP was able to find a good middle ground in this situation by talking to both parties of lawyers. Again, thank you for the story. Our next post is by user Turnover Gullible, and it's titled, "Am I the asshole for slapping my brother after he gave away the money he promised me to his wife? My brother is 27 male and I am 20 female. I don't want to sound entitled, but I am entitled to the money that he promised me. Our parents had funded his business, and he promised to give me the money for my higher education, and I can't even ask my parents because they don't have money, but my brother does. A few days ago, I went to my brother and told him that I need money for my education, and I need him to pay my fees and help me a bit with other expenses. He said he can't because he used all of his money to fund his wife's new business, and he asked me to wait a while. I told him that I can't wait. It's going to cost me a whole year, and he said he can't help right now. I lost my cool because my parents gave all their money to my brother, and I didn't have a problem with it, as we were wishing that he would become successful and help all of us, and he promised to help me find my education. Love trickle-down economics, guys. It works every time, right? I told him that he promised me, and it's not just his money, it's mine as well. And we all trusted him, but now he is betraying me, and you don't have money? You should have saved up for me. I'm your sister, but you compromised my education and betrayed me and our parents. He still said that he doesn't have money that he invested. All he had is in his wife's business. I got so angry, I slapped him and said that I don't need his help anymore and he should consider me dead. He can keep being his wife's slave and do her bidding. And he grabbed my hand and tried to stop me to talk to me, but I didn't listen to him and I left. I no longer care about my brother. To be honest, screw him. I thought it was his love that he cared so much about his wife, but now I know that he's being used, but I am so stressed about my future, I don't know what to do, and deep down, I still care for my brother. He used to help me so much, and now I'm wondering what happened to him. In the comments, Holiday Ad says, "It's kinda your parents' fault as well. They shouldn't have given everything to him. They should have given him his share and asked him to get a loan." To be honest, this is just an expensive lesson for OP. Her brother will be back when his shit fails, and there won't be anything from him. OP needs to move on with her life and get away from her family so they don't pressure her in the future. Why do we always have to assume the worst for OP's person of significance? Like, why can't there be a chance that his wife ends up being successful and he gives her all the money that he promised and then some? Well, OP needs the money now, otherwise she'll have to put her education on hold as she can't pay. Turn Psychological says, slap him, then slap your parents, and then slap yourself. All of you are the asshole for not talking things out clearly. Your content is not clear here. Did you give him a heads up that you would need the money in a few months, or you went up to him and wanted it immediately? What was agreed upon? There's no rough figure that you mentioned here. How do your parents survive if they gave all of their money to him? You sound foolish to say that you don't need the money anymore. You could have asked him to co-sign for a loan and give you the money. If he hesitates, then involve your parents. Anger and rage will not take you anywhere. Think of solutions before ruining your life. In some Asian cultures, it's considered the norm for parents to put everything they have into the eldest child's education to ensure they succeed in life, and then it becomes the eldest's duty to pay for the younger child's education. I think this is what happened here. So he would have known exactly what he was expected to pay and when. He was happy to abide by that tradition when it was beneficial to him, but is now backing out of his side of the deal. And now on to the update, 1 week later. I know that I'll get a lot of mean comments on my post, like on my previous, and I'm prepared, and I also agree that I shouldn't have slapped my brother, but I was angry because he almost jeopardized my career, and I was angry. I decided to talk to my grandparents because I need money, and I was relying on my brother to help me with this the whole time. My parents shared my share of inheritance with him because we thought that he would help me during my college, but he backed out. I told my grandparents everything, and they sided with me. My grandpa was angry, and he said that my brother already got his inheritance from our parents, so he won't get anything from them, and he said that his share of inheritance will go to me, to my college fees, and for other expenses, and whatever I would like to do next. To be honest, this whole thing has been a blessing in disguise because the amount of money that I'll get from my grandpa far outweighs that which I would have gotten from my parents. My grandpa then lectured him a lot and told him that he betrayed me and that he should have been thinking of taking care of me instead of his wife, and told him that all of his money is going to me. That lecture lasted a long time. But my brother later called me and said that I should have trusted him and waited a while instead of complaining to our grandparents. I told him that I don't care anymore. I trusted him once, but he broke my trust, and he should be helping his sister, not his wife, when you both are already comfortable. I told him that I'm sorry for hitting him, and that if he wants to call the police on his sister, who is 7 years younger than him, he can, but from now on, our sibling bond ends here. I will focus on my life and build my own career way better than his. My brother tried to reconcile, but I didn't believe him and told him to F off. In the comments, Someone says, maybe get off your lazy ass and get a job next time. OP says, oh, God forbid people try to complete their education and try to be debt-free using their inheritance. The commenter replies, funny how I was able to do both without an inheritance. I guess people nowadays are just too lazy and want everything handed to them. OP says, cool. Doesn't mean that I won't fight for my inheritance, and my brother gets to get everything, but I don't. I have the right to my share of inheritance as much as he has right on his. Another commenter says, questions. Why did your parents share your part of the inheritance with him? Why was there an assumption he would give this money to you at a later date? OP says, we trusted him, me and my parents. I trusted him to help me when needed, but no. He took off with the money, and now he's funding his wife's business and told me to wait, which would have costed me a whole year. I'm grateful for what my brother did though, kinda. He taught me to never trust anyone, even your own family. Everyone is on their own. This whole time I was thinking he is my brother, and he won't betray me, and we will help each other until the end, but I guess that idea is gone now. Another commenter says, an inheritance is only after someone dies, and your parents aren't dead. It was a gift. OP says, for us, our parents give out their life savings and all the money they have to children and fund their education, and in return, children take care of parents after they start earning, which is why my brother got everything, and we agreed in hopes that he would care for us. And a final commenter says, this whole situation is incredibly dumb. OP says, it is dumb because I was a dumbass for trusting my brother. I have no idea why everyone is fighting me like it's me against everyone on Reddit. Yes, I made a mistake by slapping him, and I apologized, and I cannot go back in the past and undo my slapping. If my brother didn't promise to help me with my education, I would never have agreed to let him take my share of money, and I trusted him, and when I needed the money, he said he didn't have it and he invested in his wife's business. Like, what about me? People here are telling me to get a job or loan, like millions of others, and even if I do that, that won't fix my issue. He gets to get all the money, and I should just forgive and forget? No. I fought for my money, and in return, I was blessed with far more than he got. I have no idea why everyone is ignoring the fact that my brother almost fucked me over, and my trust in him, but I guess I'll just stop responding here and live my life, because it was a mistake to post to begin with. OP was financially taken advantage of by her family and her brother from a very young age, like as a child. And everyone's like, oh, well, he got the college education and you don't get that now because he's wasted the money that he promised you. I don't understand where all the vitriol against OP is coming from. This to me is pretty black and white. She was promised something that her brother got, and the brother intentionally took that away from her. Nah, you did exactly what you needed to do. There is no familial loyalty there between the brother and OP because he said, fuck your family and focus on your wife. I get the mantra of your wife is number one and everything there, but this agreement with your family supersedes your wife any day of the week. A stupid little business that is going to screw over OP's education in exchange for your relationship with your little sister and her future. Yeah, he can go to hell for that one. I don't like him. Still not the asshole for this one, OP. I'm glad you went as hard as you did and you got that inheritance that you were promised and then some. That was absolutely the right thing to do. Good job. I overheard my fiancé's friends talking about how he's settling for me. So I, 25 female, have had a crush on my fiancé ever since we were 6. I would ask him out through friends every so often until I turned 15. Everyone around us, including him, knew that I had a huge crush on him, and the fact that he never really said no, he would always either respond with, I know she has a crush on me. Him never giving me a clear answer just fueled my delusions. I know that it wasn't his fault and I was just being crazy. I never really got much attention from guys except a few, whereas he got tons and tons of attention from girls. Until the time I turned 23 and he turned 24, I hadn't had any boyfriend, whereas he had. He'd been in around 13 relationships that I know of. Some might have been more serious than the others. But yeah, so 2 years back, we met again in a different city where we were both working, and we started hanging out together as he didn't really know anyone in that city. One thing led to another, and we started dating. Over time, we got quite serious, and then just a week back, he proposed and I said yes. Yesterday, while at our engagement party, I was in the washroom from where I could hear the conversation outside in the parking area because of a window present in the washroom. I overheard a few of his friends discussing how my fiancé is just settling for me, as I would worship him and do whatever he would ask of me. This has me rethinking our entire relationship, as I've always internally felt as if he wasn't really in the relationship as much as I was, because of little things like how he wouldn't hold my hand on the sidewalk, or he would just respond to my "I love you" with "thank you." Oof. Oh man. That hurts. I love you, wife. Thanks, man. Even the proposal, I had told him that I wanted to get married by 26. I wonder whether he actually wanted to marry me, or was it just me pressuring him? He's a conventionally attractive guy, whereas I'm slightly below average, and I don't even have the personality to make up for it. I really love him, but I don't think he loves me the same. Ever since yesterday, everything has been numb. I have no idea what to think or even do. I don't know what to do. In the comments, Unoriginal Nam says, "Similar things were said when my parents got married, as friends thought that my father could do better. But it didn't matter, as my father cherished my mother. Even after 45 plus years of marriage, they cherish each other. You're young. You have plenty of time to find the right person. Have the strength to spend your life where you are cherished, not tolerated. Only you can answer this question. In this relationship, are you cherished or are you tolerated?" Huihu69 says, "Man, listen. Have the guts to call it off if you feel even a slight bit unappreciated. Engagement or not, do you want to spend your whole life doubting whether he is settled, or was it of his own choice? Maybe start the conversation by asking if you think he feels forced into marrying you, and then take it ahead. But whatever be the outcome, do let him know that at the end of the conversation, that you overheard his friends talking shit about you, and based on the reaction you get, you will know if he is settling for you or if he wants to be with you forever. And be kind to yourself, yeah? So what if he's better looking? Don't call yourself average. That's where you lose the game. Manifest the confidence within yourself." And Wine or Wine says, "A guy who responds with thank you to your I love you, and you decided to marry him? What the hell? You're in for a sad, sad married life. Leave him. Be bold and dump him now. No friends would ever say shit like this about their friend's partner unless their friend himself regularly bitches about you. Run." The rest of the story is kinda like icing on the cake for this one. But for me, the main problem is he said, "Thank you" to your "I love you." What is going on with that? Is that not crazy? You're married to someone and they don't say "I love you" back? You need to have a sit down with him yesterday, OP. There is something seriously going wrong in this relationship, and I feel like you need to get to the bottom of it. And now, on to the update. Okay, so firstly, I'd like to thank you all for your advice. So the day after posting this, I met up with my fiancé. On meeting him, I told him how I've been feeling and didn't mention the fact that I overheard his friends. On hearing that, he became emotional and admitted to not being attracted to me physically, but liking me as a person. It honestly did hurt, as in my head, I was expecting him to say something along the lines of him loving me no matter what others thought. He still wants to marry me, and I still love him. He has promised to try harder and be more present in the relationship. He really has been trying these past few days. He texts me every single day and also reciprocates my "I love yous." Also, I told my mother and grandmother about everything that has been happening, to which their response was more on the lines of, "I should be grateful that someone like him is going for someone like me, and once we get married, he will change over time." Now this has put me in a tougher position, but honestly speaking, I think I'll just go ahead with the wedding, as the other option is arranged marriage, which I'm not really keen on. And he's really started putting in effort. I do believe that he will actually fall for me gradually. In the comments, Look Who's Talkin' says, "Babe, go back and read your post again. He admitted to not being physically attracted to me, but liking me as a person? This is your first red flag. He might be a good person and a good friend, but marriage is also about physical intimacy. The ultimate decision is yours. I know that it will break you if you decide to move on. Getting married is a huge decision. Rethink your pros and cons, please." Seabelt says, "Sorry, but one tight slap from me to your mum and grandmum. It seems that they just want you to get married and brush off their responsibility. I made the same mistake of ignoring red flags, which impacted me so badly, and regretting it. Don't do the same mistake." KFC in my belly says, "It's okay. OP won't be listening to any of us. She has been conditioned heavily with the shitty trauma that is obviously visible. I hope happiness for OP in the future. Sadly, love life is the last that will give her this. Still, I hope that she finds refuge. This situation is only giving me a future scenario of sadness and guilt and lots of heartbreak." Dreaded Anxiety says, "Icky. Girl, what the hell? As I'm Indian and actually understand all the nuances, girl, what the hell? If she could convince her parents for a love marriage, even if it's the same social class, caste, and religion, it would have been fine had she broken up with him. Maybe a few months of the cold shoulder, and that would be it. But now, she's in for a rough ride. He's gonna show his true colors, have flings, and she'd have no one but herself to blame. Should have gone for an arranged marriage. If she thinks she lacks beauty, she has no idea how much she lacks brains." There is a lot of conditioned low self-worth and pressure on the both of them to marry right now. But yeah, it does kind of sound like he's just going to use her for marriage so that he looks good in the eyes of the public and then just cheat on her. Like, that's the vibe that I'm getting from this, and I hope that OP does break up with him. I don't know. I don't have the answer for this one. Good luck, OP. Our next post is by user NoDirt6830, titled, "Ex-wife and I slept together." Hey guys, long post, but the details are important. My ex, 47 female, and I, 45 male, have been divorced for 3 years and have 2 sons, Wyatt and Jack. Our split was mainly due to our kids and the different parenting styles. My ex is a genius. She's a PhD and a research scientist, while I'm an analyst. She grew up with colder parents who instilled strict routine and discipline to be successful, whilst I grew up with a very close relationship to my parents who encouraged forming my own path in life. These two backgrounds came head to head when it came to our own kids, especially when they started school. My ex wanted them to be completely focused on academics, while I wanted them to live a little and enjoy being kids and have them figure things out on their own. After months of fighting, we decided that it wasn't going to work. Our split was amicable, and she's actually paid way more child support than she had to, but she insisted on it. We even spend Christmases and birthdays all together for the sake of our kids. Our sons primarily live with me by their own choice, and while my ex does see them about once a week, my kids are teenagers now, and sometimes they want the weekends to themselves. My older one, Wyatt, has said to me that sometimes he feels like it's my ex's own fault because of how hard she was on them. I try to remind them that she's still their mother, and she was doing what she believed was best, and at the very least, he owes her respect. This brings us to a few days ago. Since both kids are on break, my ex tries to stop by on the weekdays to try and see them more. She stopped by, but both kids were out with friends for the evening. She had come all the way, so I invited her inside for a drink. We were just chatting, and eventually we started looking at old baby photos of our kids. We had a lot of laughs until we got to one picture. It was a picture of when my sons were 6 and 2, and I had them both up on each shoulder, and the 3 of us were laughing. My ex just started sobbing out of nowhere and started apologizing to me for everything. I was really confused, but I hugged her and told her that she only did what she thought was best and that she shouldn't apologize for trying to be an involved parent. We stayed there for a while, but neither of us wanted to let go. Eventually, she looked up at me, and her look reminded me of when we were dating. We started kissing, and things escalated. It was like the 12 years of our marriage came flooding back, and during, my ex kept tearing up and telling me that she loved me. She quickly left before our kids could come back, and we've been silent until today. I got a text from my ex asking if we could meet up alone to talk. What the hell do I do here, guys? On one end, both my ex and I still care about each other, but on the other, this whole thing could be a huge shock to not only our kids, but the rest of our families as well. In the comments, Perfect Delivery 509 says, "You sound like a lovely person. Now, as far as reconciliation, because I feel like there's much more than you're mentioning in this post, you guys got divorced because she was hard on the children and was the stereotypical Asian parent view, whereas you chose a more relaxed, let them be kids approach. Normally, you want a mixture of both to instill good study habits as well as independence. So my question is, at this meeting that you'll attend, what happens if you two get together? Will there be compromise? Is she only coming back because she realizes her kids don't talk to her anymore? What has she been up to the last 3 years? I feel like there is more being withheld, because jumping to divorce over a compromise of parenting styles seems very odd." Karina Vet says, "Whether or not you'll give it another shot is entirely up to the two of you. Since you split amicably, and obviously still care about each other, it's really just going to come down to whether or not you feel like your differences are irreconcilable. But I will say this, if you do give things another shot, take it very, very slow. You will also have to run a balancing act of when you tell your kids. Do it too early, and you risk things going badly and it blowing up in your faces, and do it too late, and you risk your kids feeling betrayed for being kept in the dark. Good luck?" And Frosty Lawyer says, "Just go see her and figure it out. You definitely still have strong feelings for her and her for you. Your kids are older and would appreciate more that you tried than not trying. They have multiple things and events, like graduation, wedding, childbirth, etc., in the future that would be much easier if you two were together for them. Don't use the kids as an excuse. Do you want to be with her? It's definitely worth exploring. My parents are back together 45 years after they divorced, and it pissed me off for a while because of all the drama that I lived through with the step-parents at the time. I am 50 now. You both sound like great people that both love your kids. If you want to see how trauma affects kids, go read my posts. Go for it. Nothing is guaranteed." I think that advice is pretty spot on, honestly. Take it slow, but not too slow, and make sure to keep the kids in the loop, if and when you guys do get back together. If you want to be with her, not just for the sake of the kids, then that is a worthy cause, and it's worth exploring if you're careful about it, OP. Thank you, and good luck. And now, onto the update, 8 days later. Hi everyone, I know it's been a little bit, but I have an update to my last post. First of all, thank you to everyone. You guys gave some great advice and really helped me prepare for the conversation with my ex. I met up with my ex 2 days after getting the text from her. I went over to her apartment and we had a great talk. About a year after the divorce, my ex actually went to see a therapist to sort of get an understanding of where her life was. As she kept going and discussing things from her childhood, she realized she was doing the same things to our kids that her parents did to her. Things that ultimately made her resent her parents, which was why she was actually closer to my mum than her own. She teared up a bit and told me she never stopped loving me, and that regardless of what a document says, I would always be her husband. My ex admitted that on the night that the incident happened, she knew the boys would be out and she wanted to spend some time with me alone. When we started looking at old pictures, she got overwhelmed. She told me how much she missed me and would do anything that it took to make it up, and at the very least be partners again. I told her that I always cared about her, and that I missed her too, and that I still felt something for her. At the end of the evening, we both came to terms that we still loved each other and would give it another shot. The terms were that we take it slow and regularly attend couples counseling, as well as not to tell the kids yet. Since then, we've been spending almost every day together, and we actually had our first couples counseling session. It went pretty well, even after everything that happened, and my ex and I were really able to establish the grounds of our new/old relationship. We are going to be going to more sessions, but it's a good start. I actually hosted a family dinner a couple of nights ago. While our boys still don't know about us, I made the excuse that it would be good for the four of us to have a meal together. And honestly, my wife really has changed. She was more open with the kids and was more interested in hearing about things like sports, hanging out with friends, and hobbies. My kids responded really well, and for the first time in a while, our sons were enthusiastically engaging and connecting with their mom. She also planned a trip to the zoo for the four of us like we used to when the boys were young. I think my older one got a little bit suspicious and rolled with it, but the fact that we have co-parented so well has been a great cover. Things are good now, and I think deep down neither of us truly fell out of love. I think we would have eventually found our way back to each other regardless of what happened that night. Thank you again for all of your kind words and support. In the comments, Reasonable Ad says, I hope they're doing well now. From what OP shared about the kids, the one that says it's the mum's own fault for how hard she was on them, I think the ex-wife has a lot of work to do on earning the boys' forgiveness and trust. I do hope some family counseling happened. Yeah, I really would have liked to see some advice that she attend family therapy and work on her relationship with her kids first. Hard to see just how deep it ran, but if OP's home is their safe space from corrosive criticism and controlling behavior, it would hurt to have that snatched away. Not gonna lie, I kinda hate it when someone has to be told, yeah, all those things that your mum did to you that you hate, your kids hate it when you do it to them. Stop it. I mean, it's great that she got there eventually, but doing it before damaging your relationships would be super. Yeah, it's everyone's responsibility to end the cycle of abuse. Sadly, most don't see that until it's too late. If I have children, which I don't know if I would, I really hope that I'd be a good dad. Agreed. But as a parent, it is so hard to switch off something that seemed normal to you growing up. Obviously, I don't hit my kids like I was spanked, but sometimes I'll find myself shouting when a normal volume would work so much better. At those times, I do something my kids never did, except sarcastically. I apologize to my kids. I tell them shouting was wrong and I shouldn't have done it, along with an I'm sorry for XYZ. Fuck generational trauma. OP sounds like a great guy for bridging the gap between him and Tiger Mom over here. But if she is genuinely willing to change for the kids and stop that cycle of abuse that she was perpetuating onto them, then, the more the merrier. Let 1,000 blossoms bloom, as far as I'm concerned. I really wish they came back with another update to tell us how it's been going, but that doesn't appear to be the case. All I can hope is that it's going fantastically, and I'm going to delude myself that it is. So thank you for the story, OP. That was beautiful, the way that you've handled this. Our next post is by user Livid Charlotte, titled, Am I the asshole here for being very angry with my younger brother for what he said about my girlfriend? I, male 22, have been dating my girlfriend, female 21, for 4 years, and I love her about as much as it's possible to love anyone. I honestly melt inside at just the thought of her. My girlfriend speaks with a stutter, which I know she is self-conscious about. Yesterday, I was chilling at home with my girlfriend. I live at home, but she had to come visit, and at the same time, my brother who is 16 had some friends over, and they were playing video games in his room. I also have a sister who is 18. My girlfriend went to the bathroom, and when she came back, she was crying. And when I asked her why she was crying, she told me that on her way back from the bathroom, she was walking past my brother's room, and she overheard him saying to his friends that I had this stupid girl who doesn't know how to speak with me, and that he doesn't know why I would be with a weird girl who can't talk properly. I am very angry about this, and after my girlfriend had gone home, I immediately told my parents about what my brother had said. My parents just said that my brother is just a kid, and they called my girlfriend too sensitive and claimed that it wasn't a big deal. I absolutely lost my temper with my parents, as well as my brother, who I called a nasty, disrespectful pig. I then went to my girlfriend's house and stayed with her and her cats because I was so angry with my parents. My parents have been texting me saying that I'm overreacting and continuing to say that my brother is just a kid. In the comments, your brother is a kid, and childhood years are for making mistakes and learning consequences. I'm sorry your parents reacted the way they did, because it sounds like they make excuses for him and are not preparing him for adulthood. I doubt you'll change them, so do what you think is right. It sounds like for now, the consequences for your brother is an altered relationship with you. I would express to your parents that 16 is closer to adult than child, and you are very disappointed at your brother, but more so their reaction. Also, I don't mean to stir the pot, but is it possible that your parents brushed it off because he's echoing stuff that they say? By the way, mum of 22 and 18-year-old, so semi-expert, not the asshole. And OP says, if my parents have been talking about her like that, then I'm moving out permanently. Another commenter says, oh, that's nice. Your parents enabling their asshole 16-year-old son to be a nasty piece of work. You're right to be pissed with him and them. They should be knocking that on the head. He's old enough to know better. You're not the asshole here, but your family, minus sis, are and should be ashamed of themselves. OP says, my sister honestly looked like she was ashamed at our parents and brother. Another commenter says, one thing to keep in mind here is that she overheard him talking to his friends and did not say this to her face. Although the parents blowing this off is suspect. How do they feel about your girlfriend's stutter? Have they made comments about her behind your back that your brother may have overheard, and that's why they're hesitant about confronting him? I feel bad for your girlfriend. Having a stutter is hard enough to deal with and to be self-conscious of, let alone having someone close to you mocking her. OP replies, it's very odd because my dad had always been nice to her and my mum has actually been very affectionate towards her, so for them to disregard her feelings seems very two-faced. If my parents have been saying mean things about her, then I'm definitely moving out. Just a bit of a failure of parenting all around, and I am very curious as to what they say when you do confront them about this. You definitely need to ask why they haven't gotten on top of this with him. And maybe have a chat with your brother too about where it's coming from, and specifically, if he's heard the parents say these things as well, and if that's why he feels like he can say it. This is all incredibly sus, and I'm keen to see what your outcome is here. But for me, definitely not the asshole here, OP. And now, onto the update, 9 days later. Thank you for all your comments on my original post. When I had calmed down, I took some of the advice that I had received in the comments, and I approached my brother to talk to him calmly about what he said, and my girlfriend decided to come with me. Anyway, my brother did apologize to the both of us. We asked him to explain honestly why he said it. My brother admitted that he was trying to look cool in front of his friends. My brother also told us that these same friends had been teasing him for not having a girlfriend after the girl that he asked out rejected him. I asked if he was jealous of me because I have a girlfriend, and he admitted that he was jealous, especially after he got teased after being rejected. Anyway, me and my girlfriend discussed the situation with my brother, and we explained to him that these boys are clearly not true friends, judging by the way they are acting. We further explained to him that he shouldn't feel like he has to act cool to impress people, and we also reminded him that saying mean things about someone is definitely not cool. We advised my brother to stick up for himself and to not hang out with these people who tease him, and that he should report them if it gets worse. My brother did apologize to me and my girlfriend. Some people in the comments suggested he might have heard my parents commenting on the way my girlfriend speaks. However, my brother insisted that this is not the case. I don't know whether to believe him about that or not. After the chat we had with my brother, I told my parents about how disappointed I was with them and about how me and my girlfriend had just done what they should have. I am extremely disappointed in my parents, as I really trusted them to be better than this, and unfortunately, things have not changed with them. My parents were angry with us for talking to my brother about this, and they claimed that we were both overreacting. I made it clear to my parents that actually, they are underreacting. I told my parents that they should be thanking us for doing the job that they can't be bothered to do. Unfortunately, my sister has also been having some trouble with my parents because she tried to talk to them about this situation. Because of the way that my parents are acting, I'm going to move in with my girlfriend and her cats permanently. Tomorrow, I'm taking my girlfriend on a surprise vacation for Valentine's Day, as I know my girl loves a nice surprise. In a couple of weeks, when we get back from the vacation, I will move in with her, and my sister is also moving in with us. Me and my girlfriend have both told my sister that when we move in together, she's welcome to come as my girlfriend's place has a spare room, and my sister was very eager to accept the offer to get away from our parents. My girlfriend and my sister are very close, and honestly act like sisters themselves, so the three of us living in the same place will be great. My girlfriend also assured my brother that she forgives him, and he is still welcome to visit. In the comments, your parents are reacting that way because they are the ones who have been shit-talking about your girlfriend when you're not around. Your brother denied it, but it's obvious. OP says, it does seem like it, unfortunately. If that's the case, I hope my brother will trust us enough to tell us that eventually. Another commenter says, make a point to stay involved and check in on your brother. He may feel left out with both of you moving and being left with the parents, and that can easily turn to resentment. And OP says, yeah, I'm definitely going to keep spending time with him. And someone else asks, does the rest of OP's extended family know what happened? And OP says, I do have aunts and uncles as well as cousins who have mostly supported me in this situation. Gwynazin says, quote, your brother is a kid, and childhood years are for making mistakes and learning consequences. This is what always frustrates me, reading or hearing a parent downplay when their kid does something bad with the they're just kids excuse. Yes, that's why you're supposed to be parenting them right now. But I'm glad everything outside of the parents is working out for OP and his girlfriend and her cats, and that the sister is free to move into their apartment with him and his girlfriend and her cats. His girlfriend and her cats sounds like a lovely person. Am I the asshole for telling my father's girlfriend that the more she talks about Jesus, the less she'll see my child? For context, I, 26 female, come from a Catholic family, but my parents decided not to raise me and my siblings as such. My father due to a crisis of faith that he had years ago, and my mother because she hated practicing it. We were all baptized for our grandparents' sakes, but nothing beyond that. We never prayed, didn't have any first communions, and didn't read the Bible. I didn't even set foot in a church until I was 14. I'm very grateful for that upbringing. But today, I'm agnostic, and I don't have a great relationship with the church. My husband's family is also Catholic, but he doesn't practice it. Our first child was born earlier this month, and we decided to raise him without religion. Neither of our extended families cared much, but we've been having some trouble with a few people over it. My father has been dating a Christian woman for 6 years. I'll admit I don't like her, but I don't dislike her either. Before I got pregnant, she wasn't the preachy type, to me at least. She wasn't happy when I told her that I was agnostic, but didn't try to change my mind. She did talk about her religion a lot, and kept trying to get my father to engage with it frequently, but not much beyond that. Soon after I announced my pregnancy, my husband and I had dinner with my father and his girlfriend, during which she told us she knew the perfect place for the baptism. We said we weren't planning on baptizing our baby. And from that moment, she got annoyingly preachy to me and my husband. It was mostly indirect stuff, such as giving the whole family speeches about how glad she was to have Jesus in her life, but some were impossible to mask as unrelated. She gave me a decorative cross for the nursery on my baby shower, tried to make us all say grace during Christmas dinner, which we have never done before, with or without her, and kept bringing up a priest friend of hers who just so happened to also do baptisms. My husband and I stood by our decision. Fast forward to now, our baby was born a couple of weeks early. He was pretty much full term, but we were all still worried. He's perfectly healthy, and we are all doing well. Yesterday, my father and his girlfriend came over to see the baby. While I was telling them about my labor and how it was at the hospital, She told me that she had been praying for us the whole time, and that we should all praise Jesus for giving us such a blessing as my son. Unrelated to her previous preachiness or not, I lost whatever patience I had. I said, you know what? I'm done. The more you talk about Jesus and religion and whatever, the less you will see my child. She was quiet the rest of the visit. After they left, my father called me. He told me he understood that I was frustrated, but I shouldn't have been so rude to his girlfriend. He told me that her intentions were pure, and that she was only behaving like this because of how important religion was to her. I don't think I'm in the wrong for my feelings, but I'm worried that I was too rude. Am I the asshole? In the comments, CuteProfessional9983 says, not the asshole. Maybe remind your dad what's important to you. She can have her faith, but when she starts pushing that on others, that's her crossing boundaries. OP replies, my father tends to humor her when it comes to these things, which kind of surprises me because she pushes her faith onto him more than onto us. I'm obviously okay with him doing that for himself, but not when it extends to me and my siblings. Novel Mongoose replies, don't leave your baby alone with her. The kid is getting a kitchen sink baptism at the first chance. I know they aren't considered legit, but it won't stop her. And OP says, I won't leave my baby alone with my father. A bit lazy, low attention span, and sleeps a lot. So I wouldn't leave him alone with her either. Terra Alpaca replies, point out to your father that you can neither trust her nor him with your child because neither of them have respected you or your husband's decision on religion. If you left your kid there, you wouldn't know if they took them to church or tried to have them baptized. You say he humors her, so you cannot trust he would have your and your husband's interests for your child at heart. D-list superhero says, maybe you should shame her for living in sin with your father, if they live together, that is. After all, she's your father's girlfriend, not his wife, therefore not your child's step-grandmother. Not the asshole. You're the asshole. Whether you're religious or not, for most people who do have a relationship with God, praying for somebody is them showing love. Your baby could have had complications and she prayed for him because that was the most she could do to help the baby. It's kind of bogus that you can't see her trying to show love only because you don't like the way she did it. That's weird. And OP says, I have no problem with her praying for my child, but that's something that she can do without announcing it or expecting us to do the same, especially when talking to a family she knows full well is not religious. I think it's common sense in this situation that OP is not the asshole. Don't go shoving your religion down people's throats. Don't go getting annoyingly preachy with people when it obviously makes them uncomfortable. And what's with the priest friend who just so happened to do baptisms? Like, stop it. It's not just her talking about Jesus. It's all of her intrusive actions that she knows makes people uncomfortable, but she doesn't care. Religion aside, she is not a very caring and considerate person, just from base level. I think she needs to go sit down and have a big hard think about who she is and why she does what she does, not the arsehole OP. And now, on to the update. Hey folks, update time. This might get a little long. I showed my post, along with your comments and my replies, to my husband. He told me he agreed that I had been rude to my father's girlfriend, but thought that she had pushed me to the point in which I had no other choice. He was actually surprised that I lasted so long without saying anything. For the record, I'm not opposed to religion or to Catholicism. I have religious friends, I've seen Godspell, and I've visited churches without catching fire. One of the most beautiful places that I've ever been to was the Metropolitan Cathedral in Brasilia. I've managed to endure preachiness for short periods of time, I'm just not religious. There are many reasons why I don't have a good relationship with the church, most of which I'm not comfortable sharing. I will say that I've been agnostic since I was a teenager, and people have been trying to tell me that I'm wrong and I need to be Christian or Catholic for longer than that. I also live in a very religious country, which never helped my case. I have always loathed people who obsessively preach about their faith to others. I find it incredibly disrespectful and hypocritical. I wouldn't run around telling people what I think as an agnostic, and I expect my acquaintances to do the same. Sometimes you need to be an asshole to get your point across. I wish I had understood that sooner. I think I downplayed how stressful it was to deal with my father's girlfriend's behavior during my pregnancy. Everything happened a lot quicker than I expected. On Monday, my older brother informed me that our father and his girlfriend had told him about what happened, apparently expecting him to take their side. He took mine, and they ended up having a short fight. I decided to sort this out with my father before it also extended to my sister. A couple days ago, my husband and I called my father and his girlfriend to talk about the subject. I told her that as much as I appreciate how much she seems to care about our son, both me and my husband are uncomfortable with the way that she's been trying to push her faith onto our family. We don't want to raise our son, as well as any other kids that we have in the future, with religion, and we expect the people who will be a part of his life to respect that. I told her that moving forward, we wouldn't accept any religious gifts, crosses, Virgin Mary figurines, etc., and wouldn't entertain any attempts to make us pray or say grace, and would shut down any speeches about accepting Jesus into our hearts. My husband counted 7 in December alone. No more hinting that we should baptize our child either. She is free to pray for us if she wants, but we don't want to know about it. We will respect her faith as long as she respects our boundaries. She remained quiet while I said all of this. When I finished, she asked, "Can you at least put the cross that I gave you in his room?" I'm not gonna lie, that was one of the most frustrating things that I'd heard someone say to me in a while. My husband nearly lost his patience. I replied with, "This is exactly what we're talking about. No. The answer has always been no and will always be no. And if you keep refusing to accept that, we will restrict your access to our son. It is that simple." We didn't talk much after that. She apologized, and we said that we forgave her, and then we said our goodbyes. Later that day, my sister went to their place, and she said that my father's girlfriend was very quiet and seemed upset. My father called me on his own yesterday, and we talked a little more about this. He did try to defend his girlfriend a bit, and if I had a coin for every time he said, "It's just how she is," I would be very rich. But he mostly focused on apologizing to me, and I accepted it. His girlfriend also texted me with another apology. She sounded more sincere this time. I told her that I don't want her to think that I'm doing this out of disrespect for her religion. I simply don't share her beliefs. She told me that she understood. And this is it. I don't think this is over, but I feel like I've wasted more than enough energy for now. Part of me is still hopeful this will die its own death. Unless my father's girlfriend tries holy waterboarding me sometime soon, I won't update again. My son is happy, healthy, and loved, and that is all I care about right now. Thank you guys. I wish you all well. In the comments, Guitar Hair says, "Narrator, it is not over." Not by a long shot. Next post be like, "My father's girlfriend tried to secretly baptize my baby." Something along the lines of, "They sent us on a weekend vacation so we could have some us time and offered to babysit. Got a call from a sibling that they were surprised we agreed as long as we didn't have to be there." I'll be staying tuned for the next episode. I read OP's comments, and she said she wouldn't leave her baby alone with either of them, so that might be avoided. I don't understand people like this. Showing care, concern, charity, and good character is how you draw people to your faith. Turning said faith into a club and beating them over the head with it is rarely a winning approach. That's why I love the scene in Saved, where Mandy Moore throws a Bible at Jenna Malone, who picks it up and furiously says, "This is not a weapon." The dad is the real asshole here. He raised his kids without a strong attachment to religion, and then brings a girlfriend in who is very religious. Some ultra-religious types take it as a personal crusade to convert people. They will even go so far as to get married and hope to convert people. Dad is risking his relationship with his child and his grandchild because he just can't understand boundaries. I can see from OP's point of view why she apologized, because to me, I always think of pick your battles. Is this worth the the drama of holding my ground? Or is like an apology going to, make this chill out and it'll all go away? As someone says in the comments further down, I don't think she overreacted. She was still swimming in pregnancy hormones, and you have little patience for bullshit, especially when it's been respectfully addressed ad nauseum. I don't like that she felt that she had to apologize when I don't think OP was in the wrong at all. OP has been nothing but respectful, and this woman and her enabling boyfriend, OP's dad, have been nothing but assholes. Respectfully, see you next Tuesdays. Absolute see you next Tuesdays. Continuously poking, prodding, and pushing a pregnant woman with, what they think their best vision for the future for the child that's not their child is. I'm surprised that just being short with them, understandably furious, was all OP did. If I'm thinking of an outraged mama bear, OP's gonna want to run them over with a car after all that bullshit. So respect OP, I respect the restraint. Thank you for the story. I hope that this is the end of the drama with them. Our next post is by user TM16801, titled, "Boyfriend of 3 years blacked out and cheated on me and told me, and I don't know what to do." So my boyfriend and I have been together for 3 years now, and we've always communicated and trusted each other and have thought that we were endgame. Our arguments are short and usually just us explaining why we're upset about something and work to address it together. He's had problems with drinking and done a lot of dumb things, not to hurt me, but around his friends, when he's blacked out before, and they usually just find it funny. Usually when he drinks, he doesn't have a limit to know when to stop himself, and I used to be fine with it because he wasn't aggressive or mean to me, but I noticed that it was getting worse. Currently, I'm across the country and we haven't seen each other in 4 months because of COVID. My boyfriend called me sobbing and said that he needed to tell me that last month he got extremely drunk and doesn't remember anything that happened except the very start, but thinks that he slept with a girl he knew in high school when they were catching up. He said he wanted to tell me in person, but didn't want to spring it on me right when I get back, and says he doesn't know why he did it. He was just out of control drunk and admitted that he has an issue with drinking. I'm still processing how to feel, and I can't figure out what to do. I respect the fact that he told me, even though I would have never found out, and he's getting tested. If we were to stay together, I'd want him to stop drinking completely, but is that enough? Can a relationship work after he does something like this? Can trust be rebuilt? Please give advice. I'm so confused and hurt, and aside from this, our relationship has been incredible, and I thought he was the one. In the comments, a deleted account says, "I know this sounds off topic, but does anyone else find this friend of his creepy for taking advantage of a blackout drunk person? If he was a woman, everyone would be screaming rape. Even though he's a man, it is still rape." OP says, "Thank you for this input, because I was thinking about this too. I asked him today, and he said she was supposed to be designated driver for her and a friend, but changed her mind late into the night, and was definitely less drunk, and was the one who initiated. But he said he still doesn't want me blaming her because he still had an active role in it." Danny Cross says, "If he's been so upfront and honest about it, I would give him the benefit of the doubt. Blackout drunk is a whole other realm of existence for some. I have a friend who takes on literal split personality and goes by different names when blacked out. However, your partner should consider stopping drinking or seriously cutting down, and you need to talk about it more. Can a relationship survive after this? Of course, if you work on it hard enough. I hope this gets better soon. Stay strong and just remember to communicate, always." Honestly, this is hard because he was drunk and therefore not in a position to give consent. The whole drunk actions are sober thoughts is absolute bullshit, especially when a person is blacked out. I'm sure we've all done some questionable things when drunk. I definitely have. I think that as long as you're able to forgive him and you let him know that if it happens again, you'll leave, you should be able to rebuild the trust, especially if he actively works on his drinking problem. I'm so sorry this happened, and it's 100% okay to break up over it, but it's also okay not to. I think we don't have enough information on the situation to make a proper judgment on it. We need to do a bit more investigating on this one to not just go straight up victim blaming and whatnot. All we know is he was blackout drunk, she was less so because she was supposed to be designated driver. Chances are she took advantage of him. And regardless of the fact, he needs to completely cut contact with her. That's not okay. More conversations need to be had to sort out this relationship between you two and how you both feel about this. Given the situation as is, if they are to be believed, I don't think this is cheating. Like, would you count it as cheating if a woman got blackout drunk and slept with a guy, or would you say that's assault? If he couldn't express consent at the moment, I don't count that as cheating. But we will see. And now, onto the update. Hey all, it's been a really long time since this post, and I haven't ever given an update. I figured that I'd post if anyone was ever in a situation like this and wanted to know how it turned out. We are now 4 years past this incident and have worked through this together. So, what happened after this post? He owned up to his mistake. Without me telling him what I wanted him to do, he looked up online what he could do to build back trust. He offered to stop drinking and found a therapist for himself that specialized in alcohol addiction and relationships. He also suggested couples counseling and asked if I would be willing to go with him, but that he would fully cover the costs of the therapy. In the original post, many asked about if it was consensual. The answer, it's mixed territory. He had a short memory, black in, of being willingly involved with her. As I requested, he called the girl to find out what actually happened. She was more sober than him during this night, and she said they couldn't have had sex because of whiskey dick, and then out of nowhere, he got up and ran out of the room. She got up to follow him and found him knocked out in bed. Once she gave him details, he told her their friendship was over and he was deleting her number from everywhere to focus on fixing his relationship with me and building trust back. He still doesn't know if what she told him is fully true or not, and he would get upset and question it a lot, saying he wanted me to know the complete truth for us to heal, but he can't tell what is real and what isn't. His therapist told him your mind can play tricks on you when trying to remember pieces of a blackout. Our couples therapist has been incredible. She has helped strengthen our relationship and took no bullshitting. We built back trust by discussing the hurt and things we could do to feel more comfortable when he goes out with friends. We discussed the idea of requests instead of rules, as purely controlling someone else can turn into resentment. Phones are not off limits. We have each other's passwords. At the start of finding out, we would go through texts and DMs together at my request, and we still do not hide incoming messages from each other. Not that we ever did that prior. It's been 4 years since this, and while it's a scar in the relationship, I see him as a man always willing to put in the work in our relationship and in life to make things right. He knew that I never would have found out if he didn't tell me, but he knew that I deserved the truth. If I were to bring up the issue today, he will still acknowledge the pain that he caused, apologize for it, and give reassurance to me in whatever way that I requested. Whether it's looking at his phone, or talking through anything that is a trigger for me, or setting up a call with our therapist. In some ways, this issue forced us to both mature to make the relationship work. Previously in the relationship, we loved to go out and drink excessively. At frat parties, I would also seek out as much alcohol as I could to numb myself, and would yell at him at 3 a.m. in an empty frat basement when he was tired and wanted to go to sleep, because I wanted to keep partying. After this incident happened, we realized we were no longer college kids that partied and fought when drunk, and if we wanted to progress our relationship in a healthy way, we both needed to learn how. Counseling helped us become even stronger as a unit. Humans are far from perfect. They make mistakes. But humans are also capable of growing and changing when they are fully willing to put in the work. If you are in this situation, the most important thing is how the person owns up to their mistakes and makes active changes to do better. In the comments, HolyMoses99 says, "Looking through the top comments on your original post, it's clear that this sub has gotten a lot more judgmental and less forgiving in the last 5 years. Today, your post would have received a tsunami of 'dump him,' Once a cheater, always a cheater. Alcohol doesn't make any difference. OP says, true. Honestly, even at the time I was kinda surprised that people were more positive on the post because I had seen so many that were negative. I was expecting people to immediately go, fuck that guy. He also felt so much extra guilt because he was looking through posts to try to find out how to be worthy of forgiveness, and there are so many people that claim that once a guy cheats, they are trash and unworthy of any type of redemption. It took him a long time to be able to forgive himself as well. OP on her relationship prior to the cheating. That's a big stretch there. Prior to this, our relationship was healthy, but we were also college kids that enjoyed to go out partying and drinking excessively. That comes with consequences: health, friendships, relationships, school, etc. The only arguments we ever had, not many but they did happen, were when we were very drunk. Once we started to grow up and experience our 20s, we're 26 now, we matured enough together to realize that we needed to make changes if we wanted to be better. I checked his phone maybe twice. The rest of the time now, I just have his password, so if he wants me to text his friends when he's driving or do something when my phone is out of reach, I can. Also, couples therapy isn't bad at all. Therapy is a great tool for individuals to overcome trauma and issues. Couples therapy is a great tool for two individuals to learn to handle these issues better together, as they aren't in your mind and they don't know what you're going through. Gru Thermex says, not to go all whataboutism or anything, but the guy was blacked out and taken advantage of when too drunk to consent. Alcohol issues? Yes. Cheating? If you count sexual assault as cheating, then I guess so, but come on. The guy was assaulted, and on top of that, has to be the one to pick up the pieces of it in his relationship? I hope for his sake that therapy was focusing on helping him process it too, and not just about him being a dirty, cheating liar or something. And OP says, yeah, I do agree. The incident at hand was extremely complex. It's considered SA because if you're drunk, you can't consent, even though he didn't say no and he partook. But also, he can't really remember most of it because he was blacked out. At the same time, that doesn't excuse someone in a monogamous relationship from having multiple drunk hookups and claiming that it isn't cheating as a result. In therapy, we talked about it as a breach of trust and where to go from there. That this was the only time that I would be willing to move on from this, and if something like this ever happened again, I would be done. This included a lot of discussions, mainly around alcohol, as I truly believe this never would have happened sober. Island Lord 830 says, not sure how to feel about this really. Only been blackout drunk once. Didn't remember anything from after a certain point until waking up in my wife's bed, naked, with no idea how I got there or why I was naked. So I guess I don't know how to really feel about calling it cheating. OP says, yeah, I feel the same way. Depending on who I talk to, people have different takes on it, including therapists. Cheating? SA? Some middle territory? In terms of couples therapy, we mainly spoke about it as a break of trust and where to go from there. Blackouts are scary when really thinking about it. You can act completely different and have no recollection of behavior. Reasonable Ad says, the dude blacked out, physically unable to perform, ran from the room and passed out. He was 1,000% assaulted. There is no world where this was affirmative consent. Yeah, I also get the vibe that OP sees it that way too, despite what he says, which probably plays a role in why she forgave him. Honestly, that's how I felt when she described what happened. I think societal norms makes it to where when men are sexually assaulted, they don't know how to process it in a healthy way. Hell, most of the men that I know lost their virginity while they were underage to grown-ass women, and most don't even process the fact that it's predatorial behavior until they have their own kids. I'm just glad that, these guys were able to work through it and get on top of the alcohol problem. Them being 21, they weren't very mature at the time, as you can tell, and a lot of problems arose as a result of it. Now they're 26. They're able to process these things. They have a lower standard for bullshit like the frat party life. And I, for one, am very happy to see this be the outcome. That, they accept the situation for what it is, they promise to work through it and get better, and not allow this to happen again. I very much respect and enjoy that. You love to see a good, healthy ending to stories like this. Would you end a marriage over something that happened years ago? I've been thinking about this since Sunday night. I need some perspective. I know it's ancient history, but I feel so hurt. 7 years ago, when I was 21, I was dating my now husband, Paul, 31 at the time, for over a year. I was a university student and working too. Paul got a great job opportunity with his company, but in Canada. He wanted me to leave with him, but I wanted to finish my studies first. We started dating long distance, but it was really hard. He was spoiling me rotten every time he was visiting me. One time he booked a resort for a ski trip. I realized that I forgot to pack my BCP. I told Paul, and he said that it's not a big deal, and he went and bought condoms. We had a great vacation. We drank a lot, so a lot of it is a blur, and I found out I got pregnant. I was feeling like an idiot because I should have been more careful and packed my BCP. Paul was so kind and said he will support me and will be there for me and the baby. I dropped out of school with only 1 year to graduation. We had a courthouse wedding and I moved to Canada with him. He was wonderful with the baby. He's a great husband and helps around so much. We decided to have another baby when my firstborn was 3, but unfortunately it ended up being a stillborn. I couldn't carry a baby after that. We tried many times, but I ended up losing the baby every time. I have gone back to school now, different field, and am doing fine. Last weekend, my husband and I were cuddling on the couch and watching Netflix. I was telling him how happy I am that we live in Canada now, as we were talking about USA politics, and he said, yeah, agreed. He then accidentally said, getting you pregnant was the smartest thing that I've ever done. I said, well, technically, I was the careless one who forgot to pack my BCP. He said, well, technically, no. I threw them away and made you think that way. I never used condoms either, and you were too drunk to care. I was floored. He said he wanted me to move and have a happy life. There was no future for me in a small city where I used to live. You now have a house, husband, a perfect kid, and are studying. I'm so disgusted by him. He tried to explain, but I'm not ready to talk to him. My sister thinks that while what he did was wrong and stupid, it all worked out. She thinks it's stupid breaking a family over dumb shit that he did years ago. Move on and focus on the future. I'm so full of rage and I can't get over it. Is there any way to move on from this? In the comments, NewPlayer4 says, alright, so first off, that's assault. You were under the impression that he used contraception and he didn't. It also doesn't surprise me that the old man wanted to impregnate and lock down the college girl. OP says, what irritates me is that he made the choice for me. What if I wanted to have kids later in life? What if I didn't want to move? All these years I thought he was the good guy who stepped up. Saved Aspie says, exactly. You have every right to be angry. That doesn't mean breaking up your family is necessarily the best answer, but I certainly wouldn't trust this guy even if I stayed. I wonder what else he's lied about. Funplace says, that's what would piss me off the most, acting like he's a good guy who stepped up all these years. OP says, all these years everyone, me included, praised him for being the man who stepped up. No, he was a man with an evil plan and got just what he wanted. That chick over there says, to me, this is completely sociopathic. It's wild he thinks that's normal and just did that when you were drunk. It actually gives me the chills to think about. Separate Sync says, I'm not sure that would be something that I could move past from. Please get yourself into therapy and tell him to back off immediately. The more he pressures, the more likely you are to walk, and frankly, should walk away. He didn't just lie to you, he cheated you of a choice. He didn't trust you enough to love him enough to make this work without being forced to do so. How many other things have been manipulated with force? This is not going to be an easy thing to work through, And if he is truly sorry, it's going to be him taking accountability, owning up to his deceit, making serious amends, and never justifying his actions, no matter how well it has supposedly turned out. Your relationship was built on a lie. And OP says, "That's what I asked him. How many other disgusting evil plans have you hid from me, huh, Mr. Nice Guy? What else have you decided for me?" He said that was his only secret and that I'm blowing it out of proportion. I guess my take on this is that he completely violated you and your body, OP. I would end a marriage over this one because that is an egregious and disgusting thing for someone to do, even more so to admit to, because why would you say that? Why would you say all of that and think that I'm going to react in a funny and agreeable way and be like, haha, you're so silly, when you intentionally got me pregnant and took advantage of me when I was drunk? That's a really cool and normal thing to do. I love that, and I love you. I would be going straight to a divorce lawyer. Don't pass go, don't collect $200. Get some justice if you can. And also get him to admit this in writing. That is step one. And now, onto the update, 2 days later. Thank you for your honest feedback. I really appreciate it. I had a long, calm chat with my husband. He was surprised I was so worked up about it. He said he was an idiot, but he wasn't malicious. He said he wanted to stay longer back home, and he was tired of the long-distance relationship. He talked about how he was a dumb guy back then, but he took responsibility and talked about the stuff we went through and how happy our current life is. He says he loves me and never meant to hurt me. He wanted a future with me and just acted impulsively. I told him about going to therapy. He said I should go because I never went after our losses, and especially after losing our second baby. He also told me to talk to our family doctor about depression. He thinks I'm so obsessed about the past and how things could have been different because I'm depressed after my losses. I'm going to talk to our doctor soon and ask around about a therapist who has experience with grief. At this point, that's it. Thank you, everyone. In the comments, Existing Source says, "So, he's manipulating you again." This is sad, and she continues to believe him. Gaslighting 101. This man is not sorry, and he should not be trusted. He needs therapy. So he trapped you when there was a 10-year age gap in the relationship, and you explicitly stated that you didn't want kids at the time, and then found a way to make it all seem like it was innocent, and now you're thinking you're the problem? He made the decision for you by going behind your back, but you are the one obsessing over the past? He totally gaslit and manipulated you. This is so sad. Maybe a therapist will help you see what he did for what it actually was. Wait. So it's all good now because she's going to talk to a therapist about the lost pregnancies? What the hell? Yeah, he's still manipulating her. I hate him so much. He literally stole her life from her. Courthouse wedding, so she never got a wedding or a proposal or an engagement. Shotgun wedding. I wonder if he poisoned her somehow to make it so she can't have more kids. Vasectomy for him, but she says she can no longer have kids. Does she know that, or did her husband say that she should stop trying because of the miscarriages? Don't forget, he made sure she has no degree, so it's harder to get a job and leave him. I guess if she gets therapy and gets a good therapist, she might realize how hard she's being manipulated. Nah, they'll probably send her to a religious counselor. Well, I have a friend who's a therapist within a religious organization here in Canada. Counseling is done in a church. Ain't no way this woman would be counseled to forgive him. I know religious counselors are wildly unethical in the US, but in Canada, you need qualifications and ongoing education to practice. Yeah, very grim situation, that one. I hope that OP does snap out of it and finds some support that I'm hoping she has in her life to be able to get away from him. It's insane that people can be as manipulated as they are in situations like this, but I imagine this situation is all too common, and I hope that people hearing these things and reading them online can help them be like, oh, this is actually not normal and I do need to get out of here. He is lying to my face and gaslighting me. All I can say is I hope that OP gets out of there, but, Good luck, OP. Our next post is by user Normal Redditor, titled, "Am I the asshole for telling my dad he chose between me and his fiancée when he prioritized her surgery over mine? I, 17 female, have had a rocky relationship with my dad. My parents married after I was born, hoping to provide a stable family for me, but they divorced when I was 11 after my dad went to rehab, and things only worsened from there. During rehab, he met his current fiancée, and they later had a kid, 6 female. Since then, my dad has been mostly absent from my life. Like whenever I had important events, he either has an excuse or doesn't show. I'd estimate he's been present for less than half of my events since their divorce. A few years ago, I was diagnosed with scoliosis, and initially, surgery wasn't needed. However, my condition got worse, and I was finally scheduled for surgery on the 20th of November of this year. I told my dad about it months ago, expressing how much I needed his support this time, and he promised he would be there. But later, he texted to say that he had planned a vacation that would keep him away until mid-December, just as my recovery period would be ending. It broke my heart, but I accepted it. Then, 2 hurricanes hit his vacation spot, and he told me that he would make my surgery. I felt a glimmer of hope, but then, just a week before my surgery, he texted again saying his fiancée's lung cancer surgery had been scheduled for the same day, a few hours before mine, at a hospital 30 minutes away. He said he might not make it to my surgery, but with him, might not usually means won't. He added that this wasn't about who he loved more. That message shattered me. I realized that no matter how much I hoped, he might never give me the attention and support I needed. I broke down on my kitchen floor that day. After sitting with my feelings, I texted him to tell him how deeply his actions hurt me. I said it wasn't only about love, but about showing care, and that he'd given me hope, only to let me down again. I questioned if his fiancée's surgery had really been scheduled last minute, or if he had known earlier but hadn't told me. I asked him to show me that he was my dad through his actions, not just his words. He responded, insisting the surgery was only scheduled the day that he had told me, but because he's lied in the past to save face, I reached out to someone who might know the truth. I then sent a follow-up message clarifying that my frustration wasn't with his fiancée, it was with his ongoing absence and lack of support. I said that even if his reasons were genuine, he could have at least shown some empathy. I told him I hoped he'd be a better father for my half-sister than he has been for me. In a final message, I made it clear that I was done putting in all of the effort to maintain our relationship on my own. I told him that if he wanted to be my dad, I would gladly be his daughter, but if he chose not to, I would be fine with that too. He hasn't responded, and honestly, I'd prefer he sit with what I've said. For once, I hope he really thinks about his actions and the impact they've had on me. So am I the asshole? In the comments, Chilling Storm says, "Girl, your father hasn't shown up for you your entire life. What makes you think that he's going to do it now? And furthermore, why do you allow him to have that power over you? He's not your father. He is the male who impregnated your mother. Stop elevating him to father status. This man is going to support the person who he is making life with, not the child that he walked away from years ago. He doesn't prioritize you, and he never will, no matter what words he uses or promises he makes. Good luck with your surgery, and focus on your recovery." And OP says, "Thank you, I will." Yes, OP, I'm sure you'll find someone who will love you more than anyone else, and will prioritize you. Don't waste your time on this dirtbag. He's not a father, he's just a sperm donor. And if it helps, I will be praying for you. I hope you have a successful surgery and a quick recovery. Hugs from your Reddit sister. Beta Lisa says, lung cancer surgery for fiancé trumps daughter who still has mum's scoliosis surgery. But otherwise, from what you've said about his reliability, not the asshole. Maybe send fiancé a note wishing her luck, and if it was a lie, then shit will hit the fan. And best wishes to you for a speedy recovery. Another commenter says, "No way. If I had to choose between my daughter and husband, I would 100% choose my daughter. Why? My husband is an adult. Me being at the hospital while he had surgery would not change the outcome of the surgery, so the severity does not matter. Both surgeries could go wrong. If I had to choose whose smile that I would see for the last time, it's my daughter's. I love my husband very much. He's the love of my life, but it cannot be compared to how I feel about my daughter. Would I sacrifice my life to save my husband? I don't know. Would I sacrifice my own life to save my daughter's life? Yes, without any doubt. Just let me know where to sign and it's done. And Mary Contrary says, super shitty to think about, but OP had a parent present that would be able to make decisions should they be needed. Fiancé presumably has OP's dad as her decision maker should that be needed. The decision maker needs to be present if at all possible. Dad is awful for prioritizing a vacation over his kid's surgery. However, if he's the decision maker for his partner with cancer, that surgery needs to be prioritized and he needs to be present. I see where these people are coming from when they side with the dad, and absolutely, I get it. Lung cancer surgery is more important than scoliosis surgery when you compare the two in a vacuum. But this situation is not in a vacuum. I'm gonna guess OP's dad has a history of doing this, based on what OP has said, and he intentionally kept OP in the dark until much later on when he's like, oops, this literally just came up, literally just came up, and lung cancer surgery happening just before yours, so I know I promised to be at yours, but look, I didn't know about this, and if I had known earlier, maybe I would have changed. That's the lie he's saying to her face, but I'm willing to put money on the fact he knew about lung cancer surgery months ago, and he played OP like he has done in the past. To me, it seems like he does not care for this spawn below him. His spawn will never be a priority, and he will always make excuses, he will never own up to it, and he will never change his ways, so my advice would be start setting boundaries and slowly pushing him out of your life. He doesn't sound like a healthy influence, he doesn't sound like he's good for your mental state, and I don't think you're the asshole here. And now, onto the update, 3 months later. Hey guys, it's been a while. Thanks for your love. I've been dragging my feet on an update, but here it is. Surgery recovery has been great. I've been in therapy since 12, so my therapist knows everything about my dad. Can I just say that it's weird seeing my story posted on other apps with Subway Surfers and Woodwork? I love that people think my dad is a sperm donor and not a dad across all platforms. Senior night is on Valentine's Day, which I've told him weeks in advance, saying, games start at 7 usually, but I would get at the school 30 minutes early since we'll probably do it before the game. I texted his mum, who I'll call Mima, to ask if he was going, and he texted her, "Oh, I never got a date. She doesn't tell me anything." Bullshit. I told her I'll go no contact if he doesn't go, and I will go low contact if he does go. If he wants to know, he can fucking ask and write it in his calendar. I told my mum to stop staying neutral and tell me why he acts like this. The relationship is almost ruined, so there's no point in her trying to save it. He likes to play victim, try to make it sound like my mum doesn't want him around, uses it as an excuse to make him look like a good guy. I've seen text messages when I was younger of my mum trying to get my dad to make an effort. I showed her the first post, so I'll send her this one too. "Hi Mum, the Kindle had screenshots of some convos. I love you. I saw them in August when I found it, so I knew for a while. I see my mum in a new light now. She will be walking me down the aisle and my first dance. She sacrificed so much of herself for me. She is not only mum, but my dad." For non-Americans, senior night usually involves seniors and chosen people to walk them across the floor. My dad walked me down for my fall senior night, but he will not be one of my people this Friday. I am desperate to keep contact with my sister. I know Meemaw will help me with that. I know if fiancé and dad break up, he will do the same thing to my sister. Friday came and passed. My dad got pissy when he realized I didn't want him to walk me across the gym floor. He, along with Mimor and my sister, left during halftime. We did the walk before the varsity game, and pep band can't leave the stands until third, same as marching band, plus Mimor has been to previous basketball games along with football games. I left Dad a long voicemail and message on Friday for leaving, especially since my sister begged to see me and he refused her. I told Mimor that I was disappointed that she left when she knew what happens at games. On Monday, I finally sent him boundaries and blocked him. I know I'm going to cry later. This is going to be hard for me. Thanks for your support. It means a lot to me throughout this journey. In the comments, hi, I'm you 30 years in the future. He doesn't change. For your own well-being, move on with your life without him in it. Shadow Wolf says, hell, I'm 30 now. I can say the same thing. He won't change. He'll call you maybe once or twice a year when it's convenient for him. Maybe send gifts that show how much he doesn't know who you are and what interests you, but maybe not. Send you the occasional pity party call or text, call me. We don't talk enough, etc. Honestly, it's easier if he just forgets you exist and doesn't reach out at all. Easier to not get hopes up. Your mum did the same thing that mine did. He doesn't see who he's missing out on knowing, watching you grow, learn, and succeed in life, or being there to support you when you fall. Ain't worth the heartache trying to chase what ain't there. It's heartbreaking to see a child try so hard for scraps of affection and the parent just doesn't care. I noticed the sperm donor got off his butt when the limelight of walking his daughter and having everyone think he's there for his daughter shone. What a great dad. When that limelight disappeared, he had a tatty and left. He's gonna really sulk when he finds out his daughter got married and he didn't get an invite and mum walked her down the aisle. And then he'll sit in a blanket of missing reasons, telling the nursing home staff that he loves his kids so much, but they don't spare him even a phone call. And the nursing staff home will roll their eyes behind his back because they know the score. Yeah, I think everyone gets to a point where they can't convince themselves that their neglectful parent cares. Obviously the surgery, and then this whole senior event, being the nail in the coffin for that relationship, it's rough, but I think it's necessary. If he had stayed and not made the night about him and had a tantrum, he would have still had a relationship with his daughter. He would have had the ability to fix it, but he chose not to. It's hard to come to that realization that no matter what you do, that parent will never care about you, and that the best thing is just to get them out of your life as soon as possible or extremely restrict their access to your life. It really does suck, and I'm sorry you're having to go through that, OP, but you will be better off for it. Thank you for making that hard decision. Am I the asshole here for giving my husband the silent treatment after he told me my post-birth body turns him off? I just had my first child about 2 months ago now. We did as the doctor told us and didn't engage in sexual activity until the 6-week period. The first time, I was mostly covered and it was great. Nothing to complain about. The second time, my husband, before anything happened, told me it would be better for me to wear a shirt during like last time. I was immediately defensive and asked him why. And he told me that it was because my post-birth tummy is uncomfortable to look at and it would turn him off. Let's just say he slept on the couch that night, and I haven't been talking to him. I still can't believe he said something like that to me, and I just had his child. All the pain and struggle I went through just to be told the aftermath of it is a turn-off. I don't even want my husband touching me now, and I feel insecure about my body after giving birth. Should I stop ignoring him or continue giving him the cold shoulder? In the comments, Fall Guy says, tell him that his ugly comment turned you off from being intimate with him. Exactly. No silent treatment, just let him have it. Tell him how this comment is a turn-off for you and how much you can't even look at him. Yeah, no sex if you can't handle my body because this makes me insecure. I'm due any day now. I'd never let my husband touch me again if he had the nerve to say something like that. Go jerk off and file for divorce, buddy. And OP says, I hope your pregnancy and birth goes smoothly. Also, yeah, even his touch makes me angry. Ugh, Is he actually touching you after all that? And OP says, sometimes yes. Oh, hell no. You need to simply shut him down any and every time he tries to touch you, unless of course you want it. That is not okay. OP says, I'm sorry, I should have been more specific. It's not intimacy. We haven't had sex since he said that to me. He tries to rub my back and cuddle at night. Lasami replies, that's still physical intimacy, even if not sexual intimacy. Again, I hope you, and by extension he, realize that you have 100% control over allowing him to touch your body. Trying to rub your back and cuddle sounds like he's attempting to be sweet without taking full ownership of what he said and did to you. Has he apologized? A real apology where he acknowledges why his words and actions were so harmful and unacceptable? Remember, him saying, I'm sorry your feelings were hurt, or something similar, is not an apology. It's a deflection back onto you, putting the onus on you for being upset. This is a teachable moment for the both of you, and an important one for your self-worth and your marriage. Please let us know how things are going. I don't think you're the asshole here for giving your husband the silent treatment after he told you that your post-birth body turns him off. Your anger and your resentment and your upset is completely understandable and completely valid. I get that we can and should be completely transparent with our partners. We should be honest and open with how we feel. But at the same time, in doing that, you need to be kind and you need to be caring for your partner. Instances like this where, yes, it's obvious he was being honest, he was not being caring when he said those words. I don't think he's completely understanding that what he said was a huge punch to the brain, essentially. A huge punch to you as a person. He's an asshole for doing that, absolutely, but it shouldn't stop him from being open and honest with you about how he feels. I think he just needs to learn from this experience and think before he talks. How is this message going to be received? How can I reframe this conversation in a way that I'm not going to upset my wife, who is 6 weeks postpartum, obviously going through it? Maybe I need to do some reading into the postpartum period and listen to her and listen to people with more experience on these things, instead of just jumping the gun and being an asshole and then not apologizing for my actions and being a complete asshole about this entire situation. So yeah, he's an asshole, you're not an asshole. I hope he does the right thing and learns from this. And now, on to the update. So after I had seen so many comments telling me that the silent treatment and ignoring your spouse is a form of abuse, I decided that it's a better option to finally have a proper conversation about what he said to me the other night. I told him how it offended me and upset me that he feels that way towards my body after I've just given birth not that long ago. He told me that he knows it's messed up, but he can't help what turns him on. I should have described my body a little bit in the first post. I have the same frame as before pregnancy, but my stomach has a little pouch now, which I need to work off. But I haven't had the time to be on a strict diet and exercise while I'm taking care of a newborn. We kind of argued over this, and he told me that he's just not used to seeing my body that way, and even seeing me pregnant was something that he had to get used to as well, but he did like seeing me that way. The conversation didn't really go anywhere productive, but we've been talking a little more. I'm still mad and offended by what he said, and that he hasn't formally apologized for hurting my feelings, even if it's just his opinion. I'm not trying to force him to be turned on by something he's simply just not into, but if I had never asked him why he wanted me to cover up so bad, he would have kept me cluelessly covering my body during sex so he could still get pleasure without feeling uncomfortable by my body. I don't think it's fair to expect me to allow myself to be disrespected in that way, for those comments telling me to get over myself. I'm allowing my body to recover from birth. I'm sorry for not immediately jumping into intense cardio after being dismissed from the hospital just so my husband doesn't make offensive comments about my body. I did attempt to make a formal conversation like mentioned before, but when it starts becoming a debate or heated, My husband wants to cut the convo short and tells me that I'm trying to start an argument between us. In the comments, Lil Foodie Booty says, "Your husband fucking sucks. Did he give you any indication that he was this shallow before you married and had children?" OP says, "No. This is the first time we've had an argument or disagreement about my body. We've obviously argued before, but we were able to move past it. My husband is quite strict. I don't know if that's the right wording, and traditional, so when he has his mind set on something, he never really cares to see the other side that much because he is considered the man of the house. He is Arab, if that helps." Where Are My Detonators says, translation, "He's a stubborn ass." OP says, "Technically, yes, very stubborn." I legit don't understand men like this. Like, it's common knowledge that your spouse's body changes after pregnancy. What did he expect? And to say it out loud during a time when you're feeling insecure and vulnerable? Either they're incredibly stupid or self-absorbed or both. Probably both. The lack of empathy is astounding. You just gave birth. You just created life. Your body is a reflection of that. The pain and the hardship you went through to do that, and all he can say is, ew. All he can think about is how his attraction to you is impacted. That man doesn't see women as people. I really hope you don't have a daughter, because I can't imagine growing up in a household where that kind of behavior is modeled for her as an expectation for her husband. It's also a shit model for a son to learn that he can treat his wife like that. Oof. While I recognize I didn't comment too much on it's not healthy for OP to be giving him the silent treatment in this instance, and that communication is a two-way street, it is also on her to tell him that she's upset about that and to open that conversation. I feel like that just goes without saying, does it not? If you say something hurtful to your wife, she shuts down the sex, withholds sex from you, and says, "You've hurt my feelings, that was a fucked up thing for you to say." I feel like it goes without saying that you have upset her, and she doesn't need to come out to you and say, "Hey, what you said hurt my feelings. I'm not just going to brush that under the rug." If he can't logically deduce that, oh, she's upset because I upset her, without her coming and saying it outright to him, the marriage has bigger problems. This just sounds like a really unhealthy dynamic. He sounds like he's in denial. If every time you do try to have a formal conversation, as you said, but he says it becomes a debate or heated and he cuts the conversation short because you're trying to start an argument, good luck with that. Genuinely, good luck with that relationship. I don't think that's going to work out long term without you being emotionally beaten into the ground. If people think that you being cold and distant from him and ignoring him is a form of abuse, then what's that? What is that? And what does this debate or heated conversation turn into down the road, if not abuse? I'll parrot what I always say. It's up to you whether you stay in this relationship. To me, that looks like a warning sign for things to come, because you have tried, by the sounds of it, everything you can do here. You've been civil. You've tried to connect with him. You've tried to be open and communicative, and you've tried to get an apology from him that is genuine and change his mind, and he does not give a fuck. He is like, no, actually, you're the problem because you're starting an argument. No, man, you started it. And at the end of the day, you, mate, you're going to be the one that ends this relationship because you are a stonewalling asshole. So good luck. I don't see this relationship working out, but if it does, good luck. Our next post is by user Yolju, and it's titled, "My wife just stopped talking to me. I don't know when it started, but now it's just silence. It's not like we had a big fight. There wasn't even a clear moment. One day we were laughing over dinner, and now she barely says more than a few words to me in a day. No good morning, no how was your day, nothing. Just silence. She still does everything around the house, still takes care of the kids, still shows up, but emotionally, it's like I'm a ghost. I asked if something was wrong. She said, I'm just tired. But this tired has lasted months. I don't cheat, I don't lie, I work hard, I try. But I feel like I'm losing her and I don't even know why. Has anyone else experienced this? What did you do?" In the comments, Throwaway Queen says, try helping her without her asking or giving you step-by-step instructions. Try making dinner, picking up bath time, giving her a night off, spending time one-on-one with her, if you can. Just start by showing her that you're willing to help lighten the load if she's telling you she is tired. She may start opening up a bit. I do mean this in the nicest way possible. There's no prize for not cheating or lying. This is the bare minimum for marriage. That's like saying you should get a raise for showing up to work. You wouldn't expect that at work, so why do you expect that from your marriage? OP says, wow, I didn't realize how much I've been waiting to be told what to do instead of just stepping up. Thank you. That hit harder than expected, and I'm taking it seriously. Google mental load. Expecting her to tell you what to do puts the mental load burden on her. I bet you're a proactive worker at your job. Just bring that to your home. Imagine if you had an equally paid, equal-level co-worker that just watched you do all the work, waiting for you to tell them what to do. And tell her that you appreciate her more often. Likely she's burned out, and she's seeing you as just another chore or inconvenience. Don't be a child and pull your weight around the house. Do dishes every time you see them in the sink before she asks or does them herself. Take out the trash, sweep and vacuum the floors, do the laundry if you know how she likes it, and then fold and put it away. Take care of the pets and kids without having to be asked. Just be a fully competent partner, and she will appreciate it. If you're just another chore, she can't talk to you as equals because she's probably irritated with you and doesn't want to fight about it anymore. OP says, damn, I think you nailed it. I never meant to be an extra burden, but I see how it ended up that way. I'm going to try to be a better partner, not just someone who coexists. Thanks for the honesty. Spearmint Coffee says, a big issue my husband and I used to have after our first baby was born is I would ask for help by saying, will you please clean up the living room? And every single time his response would be, sure, what do I need to clean? He really thought he was being helpful and offering to ease my burdens, but I finally snapped and said, what do you have to clean? You have eyes. Use them. It's been 4 years, and he still occasionally does it, but not that much. Even in situations where you think you're being helpful, it doesn't hurt to try and put yourself in her shoes and see how it would feel being on the other end. All of these are very good suggestions, I think, but at the end of the day, like the last post, I think she needs to be willing to have an open and honest conversation with him to really get to the core of what is going wrong here. He can take up all these chores in the house if he wants to, but and obviously he should be doing his fair share. He should be doing it without asking. Let's not say that I'm saying that, but it doesn't guarantee that the problem gets solved. There could be something else going on. And if you're unwilling to open up to your partner and really have them listen to you, I don't know what the solution's going to be. Because like I said, he could do all that. He could completely flip the switch, do all of the chores, be a productive and helpful partner, and things are not guaranteed to get better. Things might not even change. Things might get worse because that might not be the issue. Who knows? I just want them to talk, and I want her to be willing to talk. And now, onto the update, titled, I showed my wife the post. We talked. Really talked. I didn't expect this post to get so much attention. Thank you all for your comments, stories, and honesty. I read many of them, and then I did something that felt terrifying at first. I shared the post with my wife. We sat together, in silence at first, but then for the first time in what felt like forever, we talked. Really talked. She cried. She told me how heavy everything felt, that even though I wasn't trying to hurt her, it felt like she was carrying the weight of 2 people all the time. Dishes, laundry, school drop-offs, doctor's appointments, meal planning. The invisible labor that so many people in the comments mentioned, it was real and she'd been drowning in it. And I just hadn't seen it. Our kids are 8 and 6. They're wonderful, but anyone with little ones knows how draining that phase of life can be. Add to that a partner who's unknowingly been more of a roommate than a teammate, and yeah, the silence made sense. So I started small. I took over some of the chores without being asked. I made dinner last night. I planned a fun weekend activity with the kids, just me and them, so that she could have a real break, and next week, we're all going on a little family adventure together. Something light, something fun, something healing. It's gonna take time, but for the first time in a long time, I feel hope. And I owe so much of that to you all. Thank you. Truly. In the comments, Vintage Misery says, one of the main conclusions that can be drawn from these stories here is that people need to have a lot of honest conversations with each other. Most of the time, it isn't a lost cause. Congratulations on this breakthrough. I hope everything works out for you. OP says, you're absolutely right. Honest conversations can be powerful. I never thought one simple post would lead to such an important shift in our relationship. Thank you for the encouragement and for believing that it's never a lost cause. I am so happy to read this update. I tell you from experience that what you are doing is going to improve your marriage and your children's lives in a way that you would never consider, even your intimate life. Bravo to you for being mature enough to not only realize it, but to improve it. OP replies, thank you so much for this. Hearing from someone with experience means a lot. I really do hope this changes things for the better, not just for my wife and me, but for our kids too. Your words give me strength. And this is the part where I say I'm glad that she opened up, but that was a lot quicker than expected, that's for sure. Thank you for being a shining light of someone doing the right thing in these stories, OP, because it's really not often that we get people in your side of the wronged parties coming here, showing accountability, and changing for the better. That is a very small percentage of the stories that get shown on these kinds of channels, I guess. Thank you for that. Keep doing what you're doing and don't make that mistake again, please.